Welcome to the Horse Frog Podcast. I'm Kamran.
And I'm Billy.
Billy, what would you say we do here?
Well, we like to dig deep into a bunch of books and shows and movies that we love.
In excruciating detail, right?
In excruciating detail. And we like to talk about things that we like about them, what they make us think, and what we learn from them. And a lot of times we're going to go off topic, but we're going to bring it back in. Basically, it is just two guys hanging out talking about their favorite stuff. And it's not meant to be a replacement for anything. It's meant to be a companion to anything that we're talking about, any shows, any movies, any books that we're talking about. And we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Hopefully you'll enjoy the show with us.
One final note before we begin the episode. If you would like to support our show, we have a Patreon set up. You can find the link at horsefrogproductions.com. You can also email us with any feedback at contact@horsefrogproductions.com. Depending on the platform you're listening from, it may also be in the episode description. Today we are covering The Boys, the Amazon Prime show, Season 2, Episode 5. As is tradition, we give a warning prior to covering episodes of this show. It's intended for a mature audience and has extreme violence and some scenes of sexual misconduct. If these topics upset you, then we do not recommend you continue listening. We have a number of corrections and additions. I guess these would fall under additions, this first one.
Yes.
I had a thought. We have this ongoing topic of the Glenn Close effect that Billy has coined, where Glenn Close, who was in
Fatal Attraction,
that character, she embodied that so well that it is difficult to see her as anything else.
Yes.
And I thought, is there a male version of this?
It's like and I'm kind of jokingly about this because I love Keanu Reeves. I love Keanu Reeves. But Keanu Reeves is like Keanu. If you want Keanu Reeves to be Keanu Reeves in a movie, and there are others. There are several actors and actresses that
George Clooney.
Right. And the big one that comes to mind, I was going to say, but then again, we switch this back to feminine, is Kristen Ritter. And Kristen Ritter was, she played Jane Margolis. That was Jesse Pinkman's girlfriend on Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that's what I remember her as.
Yeah. She's the same when she plays Jessica Jones in Marvel's Jessica Jones for Netflix Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
She's the same character, dude. It's like she's the same character. I'm not kidding.
Okay. Let's split this into two different things, because there is the Glenn Close effect where Glenn Close played a character so well that we can't disassociate her from the character. But when we're talking about Keanu Reeves or George Clooney, to me, they're playing themselves.
Yes.
And we just like the person.
I just love them, dude. I love them.
Exactly. So they're so charming. Their charisma's, they rolled a natural 20.
What makes Keanu so great to me is like, as Neo, he's Keanu Reeves, with lines, and
as Johnny Utah, he's Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
We were watching Speed the other day. Wick. It's the same character. Yeah. John Wick.
John Wick is Keanu with no lines, with like, he's just brutal. And he's, he's way better. And that it's like, he's way more empathetic. And why is he a better actor as just like the Liam Neeson replacement? It's, than he is as Keanu Reeves. I mean, because is he going to have a franchise of the old Charles Bronson Death Wish, a la the Taken franchise, Liam Neeson? I don't know who else has this franchise of revenge flicks anymore. But
Jason Statham.
Oh yes,
I recently saw the Guy Ritchie movie Wrath of Man.
Oh, is that good?
Oh man, it's great.
I need to be. That's on my list to watch recently because I'm such a Guy. Me and you are both huge Guy Ritchie fans. I know
it did not disappoint. I thought it was excellent, but I don't think they could make a series out of this. Okay. So there's that. There's The Equalizer with Denzel.
Right. Now that was a TV series. You know that, right?
I did not know that.
That's old 80s, 90s. I think it's more 80s. Stuart Copeland, the drummer from The Police, is also a great composer. He did the music for that.
Okay.
You remember in Hot Fuzz? Remember the NWA, the Neighborhood Watch Authority?
Yes.
Okay, the old guy in the closet watching the videos?
Mm-hmm.
That's Edward Woodward. He was the original Equalizer. He's also the original Wicker Man. He plays the role that Nicolas Cage played. And that, so, but right, so yeah, and
Nicolas
he's the guy
Cage,
that gets
the person that
right, the guy that gets, the guy that gets burned alive at the end of the Wicker Man is this Edward Woodward character. So he was the Equalizer. It was a TV show. It's the same idea, British expat here in America, special forces kind of type fella, and it becomes the friend of the under the dog, hence a la Burn Notice, things like that.
Okay.
Oh, and again, if anybody has an idea for this for us, man, do not hesitate to contact us at contact@horsefrogproductions.com. We would love any suggestions for a male version of the Glenn Close effect,
or female. I just want to hear
my other one, mine was just the Kristen Ritter effect. That's just when an actor or an actress is just that person, but it's still feminine, so I can't,
Okay.
I think it works better for her because she's always plays that whatever kind of personality to me.
Should we separate it into two different categories? You got the Glenn Close effect, where the person is actually playing a character that you can't separate it from. And then there is, what do you want to call it? The Keanu Reeves effect, where they're playing themselves.
When they play themselves, because they're two different things. These are people. They're acting syndromes. If we can come up with there are types of syndromes viewed from my eyes, I guess, is the Glenn Close effect and the Keanu Reeves effect. So, but the Keanu Reeves effect is a more positive thing in a way.
It is, yeah.
Because and I mean, no offense, man, Glenn Close is a fantastic actress. So much so to have earned her this name. I mean this in no small. I don't mean it in a slight. When we say Glenn Close effect, it's a very apropos.
Okay, so by that logic, Ashley, you saw where I was going with this?
No, and I agree. I too wonder if the young lady who plays Ashley is suffering from this. And now I do have some points of defense on Ashley later on.
I do. I think I gave her some props this episode.
We both do. So we'll bring that up. So I think we'll bring up the there's a little pro Ashley in this episode.
Yeah, last episode she got props for her interior design on her office, which I liked.
So all of a sudden we're just, what's going on here? We're becoming fans.
Maybe she's got a redemption arc.
Maybe.
She's still intolerable sometimes in this episode, but she has some redeeming qualities. Maybe I just feel bad for the situation that she's in. We'll get into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Some point in, I think it's this season for sure, but I'm not sure if it was episode 1. We kind the FT. We were bringing. Oh, it must have been episode 2, I guess, about the funeral of Raynor, because the edible arrangement came up.
Yeah,
and I mentioned FTD, and I thought maybe it meant floral,
floral teledelivery is what you call it.
Yeah, floral teledelivery. And then I looked it up. It's florist transworld delivery. It's a florist wire service.
Are they still in business?
It is.
Interesting.
Yes, it is. So if you want to wire, you
only hear about 1-800-Flowers now.
Oh, I haven't even.
This is not an endorsement.
No, right. We're not. It's not paid endorsement.
Is it flowers.com now? Do people even know what phone numbers are anymore?
That's a really good question. I don't even hardly know what phone numbers are anymore. I just start punching in. I was shown that on my device. If I start typing in names, it starts bringing up your names.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
All right, episode 5. The episode begins in the ruins of a city. There are still active fires burning. The battle took place recently. There is an NYPD cruiser amongst the wreckage, so we can assume this is the city. We hear rousing, heroic music. Maeve steps into frame. She is surveying her surroundings, looking for someone. She calls out, "Ruby!" We hear explosions in the distance. A jet flies overhead. A hand comes out of the rubble. Ruby yells, "Here, I'm here." Maeve uses her strength to move a large I-beam that was covering Ruby. She then grabs both of Ruby's hands and helps her stand up. Ruby is all tatted up, has her hair dyed black. She has this Matrix vibe to her.
Does she, or she does kind of look major? See, I think more like sidekick. Does she look like a sidekick?
So to me, she looks like the people that Neo went to the club with, where he met Trinity in the first Matrix, like the type of people you would see in that club. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I know those people, unfortunately.
Yeah. Ruby says, "Looks like you saved me, Red." Maeve says, "No, you saved us. If you hadn't broken into that DHS mainframe." Ruby says, "True. I am a hell of a hacker, but I'm no hero. It's like, this is a hacker in Hollywood.
Oh
Great.
my
Love it.
gosh.
Yeah. May tells her,
Oh,
you are a hero in lots of ways. Ruby takes a step closer and asks, what do you mean? Maeve says, you're not afraid to live your life, to be who you really are. Me, I'm afraid to show the world who I am. Ruby asks, yeah? So who are you, Maeve? Maeve says, I'm a lot like you. I'm gay. I mean, I saw it coming from a mile away. This script, it's so
oh,
ridiculous. I mean, I actually like blurted out, laughing out loud. I was just, it was,
oh, that's rough. Oh,
yeah.
it's, and what's here's what's so bad. I know who DHS is, but aren't they? It's like that's I'm assuming the Department of Homeland Security, correct? Is that
Yes,
who you're
yes.
thinking? But
Mm-hmm.
aren't they also a postal service and they're a DHS? Did they use?
DHL.
Oh, DHL. Oh, I'm so
Yeah, yeah.
so sorry.
No
Thank you.
worries. Mm-hmm. That's the yellow and red trucks. Yep.
Yes, no offense meant, people.
No, none taken.
But yeah, you're right. This scene is about as subtle as being hit in the head with a brick that is wrapped in velvet. You know, the velvet is the soft coating, but the other rest of it is just that hard part, dude. It's just like wow.
Yeah, the way Maeve delivers it too. It's
Oh,
wonderful. Yeah.
yes, I love her.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for her. That's just awful. I mean, I feel so bad for her
Oh yeah.
and these kind of stuff. It's awful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Maeve then goes in for the kiss, then something explodes close enough to make her stop. She says, we've got to keep moving. We hear Bork say, and cut. Brilliant. Yes, that was absolutely brilliant. He goes on to tell the crew to check the footage and that they are done filming for the day. The actress playing Ruby is following Maeve and says, that was great. She has this kind of fangirl vibe to her.
yes, she does.
And Maeve completely ignores her and keeps walking. And as Maeve's walking away, the girl is just like watching her walk away. She's smiling.
Yeah, checking her out.
Yeah. Maeve walks up to where Homelander is sitting. He's under a pop-up tent, sitting in a director's chair, watching the footage. He asks one of the crew members to play the footage back. And he actually says please when he asks. That kind of surprised me.
Yeah, it does kind of surprise you, and it does just he just does turn on his emotions. I think turn on a dime, doesn't he?
Yeah, depending on what's going on. Yeah,
right.
I think we've said he's volatile before.
Oh yes, he is.
Mm-hmm. Maeve walks up and says, "You enjoying this?" Homelander says, "Yeah, this new Joss rewrite really sings, huh?" Do you take this as Joss Whedon? Is this a reference to the Justice League situation?
I looked it up, and that is exactly what is it a reference? It's a reference to that. So yes, I have verified that for a fact.
Okay, so for people who may not be aware, the Justice League was a Zack Snyder's movie. He wrote it and directed it, and during production there was a family tragedy. He had to take some time off. They had to find a director. DC did, so they brought in Joss Whedon, who's the director of the Avengers, and they thought, well, he did such a good job with the Avengers, maybe he can come in and finish this movie, which turned it into this monstrosity because the difference in their styles is it's stark contrast.
See, and I have never seen the original. And as I stated, I'm such a Snyder fanboy. I always have thought and prayed and hoped that there would be a Snyder cut, and I was redeemed.
Yeah,
and I have only seen that, and I love it. And I know people that didn't like the original that have watched the Snyder cut and were like, "Wow, this is a completely different movie, and this is great." You know, it's
for me, the villain wasn't where it needed to be.
You are correct.
I just felt this the generic villain.
He was very
generic alien. It was like the Eternals. I was watching that the other day because I just kind of wanted to get caught up on the MCU. Same deal. Insert generic alien army. And so the Avengers suffered the same thing.
Yeah, that's true. It was a generic space army.
Yeah,
but it looked really good.
Well, the Avengers,
and the team was cool.
Yeah, that was it. We had all this buildup for years, and nothing like this had ever been done. Where you have this story spanning multiple movies, building up to this. It didn't matter how bad the villain was necessarily. It was just cool to see them all together.
And I think you share my fear of the MCU because it has been so amazing all the way from Endgame to the Spider-Man after Endgame, and I haven't seen like Black Widow or the Shang-Chi. I started watching Eternals and just couldn't take. And it was beautifully done, but there was just something really hollow about it. And I just couldn't make it past I watched it for like 30 minutes. I was like, I can't take it. And so I just didn't watch it.
It took me about 4 sittings to watch it, but nowadays I really have trouble finding the time to kind of just sit and watch a whole movie.
Sure.
Black Widow I actually enjoyed because that part of the MCU was the part that I always enjoyed the most. The grounded Captain America stuff, the closer to reality, air quotes, reality.
Right. I, like you, I'm a huge Captain America guy because, he is weapon 1. I think we've discussed this before, but whereas Logan is weapon 10, he's weapon X. So technically Captain America is the successful and the weapon 1.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan. He's just such a great guy. I mean, come on, dude.
He's what Homelander should be.
Yes. He's what a quarter of Clark Kent is, or even Superman is.
Take it easy. Take it easy. All right, we're not doing it. I'm going to move on.
Okay, sorry.
It's coming. We're planning the Batman vs Superman episode.
Yes,
we're planning it. All right. Maeve asks, when are you going to stop torturing me? Homelander says, don't know what you're talking about. Maeve says, if I promise to never see her again, will you stop? Homelander has this look on his face, appearing as if he's smiling, but it's all completely forced. He says, but Maeve, you're in love. It's beautiful. Elena's good for you, and I'm not going to let you throw that away. Not now, not ever. I mean, that would be cruel.
I feel so bad for Maeve.
Yeah, this is a private relationship that she didn't want to be public.
Yes.
He's forcing her to be public. We'll get into this a little bit later.
Oh.
I look at it as an invasion of privacy.
Yeah, it's 2 things. Well, it's maybe more than that, but it's the invasion of the privacy. It's the fact of it's a hostage situation at the same time. It's an ongoing active hostage situation. Homelander doesn't need to be present for the threat of him to hurt this woman to be there.
It's like the nuclear threat.
Yes, it is. Exactly. He is the nuclear threat. Thank you. Yeah. With an attitude. A really bad attitude.
Yep. Ashley pulls up in a golf cart in the background. She looks like she's really nervous. She walks up to Homelander and says, can I have a word, sir, please? Homelander hasn't acknowledged Ashley. He's looking at the footage of the movie on the screens and says, oh, look at this. Look at these strong female I'm inspired. And he really emphasizes the word strong here.
Yeah, this is so uncomfortable.
He looks at Ashley and says, are you inspired? She says, oh, yeah. He says, girls, get it on.
Are we making a porno here?
Ashley corrects him. Done. Girls, get it done. Homelander agrees, saying, they sure do, Ashley.
Oh, man. That is so condescending the way he says that. It's like, and they sure do, Ashley. It's just...
Ashley says, in private, sir, please, it's urgent. Homelander lets out a big sigh. We see a video being taken by some handheld camera or phone. It's in what appears to be some village in Africa. There are some people running around screaming. An adult male is standing calmly in the midst of the chaos and lets out a blast of wind from his hand, causing a large dust cloud to appear. And I have to wonder what's going on here. He's randomly throwing out these blasts in the middle of a village. It doesn't seem to be accomplishing much, short of scaring everybody. And it reminds me of Tim the Sorcerer in Monty Python and the Holy Grail when he's just randomly throwing fireballs in the hills.
I love Tim, dude. That is, you've got me in tears over this one, dude. It's like the fireballs are accentuating his remarks, aren't they? It's always like, who are you? Bam, bam, bam.
But, I mean, he's throwing them when they walk up to him. He's just like randomly out in the field throwing fireballs for no reason.
Maybe he's practicing, dude. It's like, Roland has to practice sometime, the gunslinger.
Yeah.
It's like, so I'm assuming sorcerers have to practice it sometime.
Okay.
But the fact that I don't know why the greatest thing to me is that his name is Tim.
It's an incredibly common name for this powerful mage.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, I have a great friend named Tim, And Tim is hilarious to begin with, and I just kind of he's real thin, he's kind of the same kind of guy in a weird way. It's kind of real funny. But oh my goodness, I love that Tim. But Tim always when Tim is introduced the character in the movie, Tim doesn't ever say his name is Tim. He says, "Some call me Tim." Like a question, is that who I am? It's like, who am I? Am I Tim? I digress.
We hear Homelander arrive. He's pretending to act scared. He puts his hands up, pretending to surrender, and he says, "Ooh." He lets loose a blast from his eyes, slicing through the soup's abdomen. The soup falls to the ground and dies. We can see he was standing in front of a tanning rack with a hide stretched on it. Behind the hide, we can see a teenage boy was also hit by Homelander's attack, and he is also fallen to the ground dead. Homelander doesn't see this. He looks around. We can still hear people screaming in fear. He says, "Terrific," gives everyone a thumbs up, and takes off again. He was there for a total of 12 seconds.
Wow.
After he takes off, the person with the camera follows a woman who runs up to the boy and kneels down next to him screaming. I think it's the boy's mother.
That's what I would assume.
Yep. As a side note, the boy is wearing a lamplighter t-shirt. That is quite the irony.
That is quite the irony. Nice catch.
Yeah.
A little bit of foreshadowing?
Maybe. A little bit.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay.
Back to Homelander and Ashley. We can see she's showing this footage to Homelander on a tablet. He says, "Ooh." He continues watching as the mother is continuing to scream and cry, trying desperately to revive her son. He looks away with a furrowed brow and says, "Ooh," again. Then he scoffs and shrugs, saying, "So, what? They're all starving, but one of them's got a cell phone?" He chuckles.
Wow.
Again, I have to commend his acting. At first, he really appears worried. Then we can see him processing it for a split second. Then he quickly changes into the usual sociopath persona, making a joke and not feeling the least bit remorseful for what he did.
He is amazing. But I don't know, but I still laugh uncomfortably at that line. But he is fantastic. It's most of it is like you said, because of him. He's just so amazing.
It's so callous.
It is.
Doesn't even care about the boy, right? It's like, how's this going to affect me?
No, not at all.
Ashley says, and she's really nervous. She says, I really wish you had cleared this with me before you went over there. He says, "Oh, I don't have to clear with you, Ashley. I saw a chance for an easy win and I took it." Is this even something the military would have responded to?
I would hope not. I mean, I would think that this is a local problem, right?
I can't imagine military is going to intervene for something like this.
No.
Unless they have some soup policy where they're supposed to go deal with soups around the world.
Yeah, we are still unaware of any details on this soup policy so far. We just know that it appears to be going through. So I'm assuming still there's no policy then at this moment.
Right. And also the borders of sovereign nations would still have to be honored, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I would think that somebody else would deal with that, somebody locally-ish.
Yeah, or they'd get somebody else to come in. They would sign with Vought, say, "Hey, we need your protection," or something like that. Yeah.
That's what I think too.
Yeah. He asks her, "How many views?" She says, "Well, they posted last night. We scrubbed it 17 minutes later, but that's forever. And there's been some blowback." He says, "Blowback?" He starts shaking his head. He says, "All right, fine. So what? I'm down a point and a half, 2. Ashley clears her throat and very nervously says, "No, 9.5.
Ow.
Homelander can't believe it. He says, 9.5? 9.5? Ashley is terrified. She looks down and starts stammering. She shows him footage on the tablet. There are people protesting, chanting, "Homelander kills." They have signs. One says Homelander is a war criminal. He looks at it, then asks, "What? They're protesting me? Oh my God, they're protesting me? Can't believe it." Ashley says, "They've been at the tower all afternoon." He angrily says, "Why didn't you say something? Damn it. Don't these ingrates realize I killed that asshole for them? What do they think saving America means anyway?" It's amazing. He doesn't even realize that they're there because he killed the boy.
No, he has no clue whatsoever.
Yeah.
He just doesn't get it.
Ashley responds saying, "Well, PR is drafting a response as we speak. Acknowledgement, apology, action." Homelander interrupts saying, No. Apology? No. You schedule a press conference and I'll clean it up myself. He starts walking away to his trailer on set. Ashley says, well, Mr. Edgar and legal would like your official position to be no comment at this time. She's breathing very shakily. She begs him, please, no press until the crisis team has an actionable strategy. Okay? Homelander begins to say something, but is interrupted when we hear Stormfront say, bad day?
She has a knack for just saying just that, putting that knife in sometimes, and I just really like her for that, dude.
She's very snarky.
Oh, she is.
She's got some good bants.
Yes, she does. Bants, I love it.
Homelander is visibly frustrated by Stormfront's question. He turns and begins storming off to his trailer again. She knows how to get under his skin. That's great.
Yes, absolutely.
Stormfront laughs and says, hey, I'm with you. These maxi pad wearing ingrate hicks. But, you know, there's a way to handle it. He gets to the door of his trailer and opens it. He turns to Stormfront and says, I do not need your help. She quips, sure, you seem to be doing so well on your own.
Right.
She turns to leave and says, well, I'm here when you want me, as she walks off. He watches her walk off for a bit, then slams the door to the trailer. So earlier we mentioned Ashley's going to get some props this episode.
Yes.
And I got to give it to her here.
I do.
She had to be fearing for her life, and it had to take a certain amount of courage to be able to deal with this situation, just to even walk up to him to deliver this message.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. Because he seems to shoot the messenger kind of type fella, and as much and I agree, as much mess as I've given Ashley in the past, she seems to be becoming a little bit of a stronger leader. I'm kind of curious to see where season 3 will go with her. Maybe she'll become, I doubt but maybe she'll become a little more still. Well, like what is happening to me? Am I liking her? I started to like her.
I don't know. She's got a long road ahead of her.
She does.
Her road is like the Deeps. It's going to be long and hard.
The Deep. I have an easier time liking the Deep than I do her for some reason, and I'm hoping it is just the GCE here. You know,
that's just your blatant Aquaman favoritism coming out.
It might be. I mean, I'm not a huge Aquaman guy, but this again, he is royalty.
You're a DC guy, though.
I am DC.
Yeah,
that is true.
Mm-hmm.
I'm truly a DC fan. But I am a Marvel fanboy. But most of DC is to me the core is more core to me than the Marvel.
Okay. We are taken to a music venue with a bar. A band is playing some punk rock music. Butcher is drinking and smoking at the bar. He looks to the crowd in front of the band. He finds the biggest guy in the crowd and walks up, attacking him for no reason. He really gets some good licks in. The crowd moves in to help the man being attacked, and Butcher turns on them, ready to fight. They don't move in until someone breaks a bottle over Butcher's head, knocking him to the ground. The crowd then moves in, and they begin kicking him repeatedly. And it looks like he wanted this. Likely he wants to drown out the pain he's feeling about being rejected by Becca. Do you agree?
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. Because even while he's down there taking the kicking and he's covering his head, he's just kind of sitting there just staring. He's not expressing any pain, any anger. He's just taking this. It's obviously a distraction. And as a quick aside here, I'm not a really punk fan. I mean, I kind of always liked the attitude, but real punk, music was always kind of terrible. And a lot of times that was kind of the purpose. But this band here is actually pretty super tight. And they're pretty decent. Again, I've never been a metal or punk guy. I know I played in some heavy bands and stuff, and that were metal bands, but I'm like a jazz guy. In all honesty, that's kind of what I listen to. It's fun to play heavy stuff, but I never sat around listening to this stuff for entertainment.
I didn't know you were into jazz.
That band, yeah, big time, dude. I'm a jazz fusion guy. Yeah, okay. That's my favorite love there.
The other day, I saw this video. There's a guy that it's a channel. I guess these guys are jazz drummers. And this gentleman, he had never heard Enter Sandman by Metallica before. Because he's a jazz player. They play it for him one time.
Okay.
And he dissects the song. They strip the drums out from it and have him play the drum accompaniment. And he nails it.
Has he never heard the song before?
He never heard the song before.
Is the gentleman black?
Yeah.
I think I've seen him dissect that songs before, and that dude is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I wish I could. I'll find out that cat's name because I'm a jazz drummer fan. And there's a guy named Vinny Colaiuta, who played with Frank Zappa. I'm a huge Frank Zappa fan as well because Frank is just so weird. But Vinny is just one of these drummers that is, there's this top tier of drummers that are just some of the greatest drummers you'll ever hear. And to them, even Vinny is like the guy above them.
Okay.
And Vinny is just this, but he's real laid back and real cool. And he's actually he's played on so many albums. He's one of these session drummers that he's even played on like a Megadeth album. He was, and I can't remember the name of the album. I should know more, but because I'm a huge Vinny fan. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, unbelievable. And I've seen people dissect his stuff and do that same kind of thing and come really close. And I'm always freaked out by the talent of that, that kind of talent is. And I'm a musician, so I appreciate musical talent, but watching a drummer do that thing is unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, I was so impressed with this guy. It was really cool. Now, the topic of jazz drums has come up. We have to talk about Whiplash. Have you seen that movie?
I have not. I have seen I have only recently become aware of this because I am a huge J.K. Simmons fan.
Dude, he is an animal in that movie.
He's a monster. I love him. I love J.K.
I would put that character kind of on the same level as Ben Kingsley in Sexy Beast. Like that level of intimidation against these students. I mean, it is incredible. And that movie actually was the first movie that I saw Miles Teller in, and that sold me on his acting ability. I think he's a really good actor. Yeah.
I've only recently become aware of this man's name. Who is this gentleman? Is he any relation to Penn, the magician?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay. Probably not. I'm just curious.
They don't really look similar. He's relatively young. I'd say he's high 20s. He might be 30 now. That's the first movie I saw him in. He was in War Dogs. He was one of the guys in War Dogs. He was in the Top Gun Maverick movie that just came out. He's Goose's son in that. Okay. Yeah. That's the stuff that immediately comes to mind.
Okay. I'm going to announce the world my ignorance. I have not seen Top Gun.
Okay.
I have not seen Top Gun 1 or 2, and this is a dismay to the young lady that is my girl at this time. She's like, you don't like Top Gun? I'm like, I can't say I don't like it. I've just never seen them.
I would be curious if you watch the first one now without any nostalgia factor, what your thoughts of that movie would be.
I get that, and that because lately I am to the point of my life where there has been a huge nostalgia factor to me. A lot of the pop music from the 80s that I despise. If I hear that stuff now, with stuff that you hear on the radio all the time, that I'm kind of like, yeah, I didn't like that song, but I kind of like it now because it reminds me of my youth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and so I might like it. I might very well like it.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying you wouldn't like it otherwise, because I think it's a decent movie.
I like Cruise. I like Val Kilmer. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know why I haven't seen this movie. It has to do with the era of the movies, I think.
Well, you have some homework to do then.
Yes, I do.
You got to watch Whiplash and then Top Gun.
Whiplash has been on my list. I've actually mentioned that to want to watch that because I just love him so much. And J.K. Simmons is awesome.
I think that for me, that really made me see him as an incredible actor. And then since then, I've come to appreciate the roles that he's been in more.
Have you seen Thank You for Smoking?
Yeah.
He's fantastic. Isn't he like the colonel or the general or something?
I don't remember his role in that. He's
like the owner.
Oh, okay.
He's like the big man. He's only in maybe in one, possibly two scenes, but there's a couple times when he shows up, and that's Aaron Eckhart, isn't it? Eckhart.
Yes.
He goes to a club, one of those clubs with the leather and the cigars and the whiskey that we've talked about. That old English looking kind of old money club, and he's JK's there. I believe he's something to do. I believe he's the big money. I believe he's the main owner of the tobacco company or something like that.
Okay. There was a show he was in called Counterpart. Have you seen this?
I saw the first season. I never watched part 2.
Yeah, he was really good in that too, because he's playing two different characters. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I love what I've seen so far. I need to go back and finish it.
Cool. All right, we need to move along here. But you got your homework. And for those listening, if you haven't seen Whiplash or Top Gun for that matter, I recommend you go watch them.
There you go.
Butcher is in a grocery store. He's in the freezer section. He picks up a bag of frozen peas and holds it to his face to reduce the swelling. The bag has a picture of Homelander on it. As the camera shot zooms out, we see a sign that says Vought Fresh Farms over the freezer section.
For a big pharma company, they got their fingers in a lot of pies, don't they?
They do. It's incredible.
Superheroes, farms.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Butcher passes a cardboard stand-up of Maeve advertising her eau de toilette. I don't know if I said that right.
With a eau de toilette. Toilette. I think it's O.
Eau de toilette. Butcher goes to the pharmacy section and starts looking for painkillers. He gets a call. It's Huey. Huey called to update Butcher on the situation. He says, Liberty, that soup that Raynor was looking into, turns out it's Stormfront. Vought changed her name. They've been moving her around like a Catholic priest. Ouch. She probably murdered Raynor. Annie's trying to figure out why, but, you know, who the knows? Butcher says, as long as Starlight's on the job, we're sorted then, yeah? Huey changes the topic. He says, I'm not mad, you know. Butcher asks for clarification. Huey says, I just want you to know that, yes, you are leaving us holding the bag on this show, but I want you to know that I get it. It's, Becca. I do the same thing. I'm not mad. Butcher has walked into the toy section of the store. There are a bunch of plushies. It looks like they have cuddle plushes for all the 7 members. And there's one for Lamplighter in there, too. I guess there's some leftovers. At the end of this aisle, there's another cardboard stand-up with Starlight in feminist attire. It's advertising the skincare product Wish. It says, get the skin you deserve. Butcher says, well, wouldn't matter if you were. He picked up a teddy bear and is holding it and looking at it. Huey asks how Becca is. Butcher says, lovelier than the day I met her. He starts squeezing the plushie, causing it to squeak. Huey hears this through the phone and asks, where are you? Butcher says, heading off grid. Argentina, maybe. Early retirement. Huey looks kind of sad. He says, Butcher? Butcher gruffly says, yeah, what? Huey tells him, you could have said goodbye. Butcher says, I know we've been through together. You're always like my canary, I suppose. Thank you. Goodbye, Huey.
You know, that's kind of a wow moment for me on Butcher. I have not liked him a lot this season. He's been so driven, but that moment right there, that's a really touching moment for me.
Yeah, it's kind of showing his soft side a little bit.
Yeah, even though Huey doesn't get it, it's still, we know the reference, and so it's
Yeah, Huey does not get it. Butcher hangs up on him, not allowing him to respond. He takes out the SIM card and destroys it. is watching the show Outlander on a laptop with some headphones on. They're in the Haitian Street King's basement. Huey walks up and asks, what are you watching? slams the lid on the laptop and says, a show called Eat My You think he's ashamed of watching this show? Why is he being so hostile?
He's obviously ashamed, I think. I don't know why, though. He wasn't afraid to talk in front of the boys to Monique about Downton Abbey. I mean,
well, that's because
okay.
He was watching it with Monique. He's watching this by himself.
Hey, man, sometimes you just like what you like, I guess. That never looked like a show that I'd be interested in. I keep thinking of Highlander for some reason. I don't really know anything about the show Outlander.
My familiarity with it is related to the books because my mom, she was reading them as they were coming out. Okay. And she was kind of giving me the high level 10,000 foot view of what's going on in there.
It's soapy?
Yeah, it's like this woman goes to these ruins and then travels back in time and falls in love with somebody. It's like time travel related, right? And then drama.
Okay, far. Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like it will not be on my list at the moment. At the bottom, I'm sorry.
You got more important things on that list.
I'm not saying anything against the show. I have not seen the show. I cannot fairly say that I don't like the show. Does not appeal to my niche of what I like.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Was that apropos?
Hey, man.
Was that?
I'm not watching it. I got bigger fish to fry right now.
Right? Well, you've got a life. I mean, I work. It's like I work and I do this, and I have a good time. It's like it's a great thing about being older. I don't have kids here. It's cool, man. I got a cat. I got a cat. And I got a woman I'm crazy about. So
good. Huey says, "Okay." Asks Huey, "Have you seen Frenchie or Kamiko?" Huey says, "No, not for a while. Why?" is winding up his headphone cable. Under his breath, he says, Huey says, listen, I just got off the phone with Butcher, and I think something might be wrong. Like, really, really wrong. Asks, what would make you think that? MM is perfectly lining up the ends of his headphone cable as he's wrapping it up.
I did not notice it. This does not surprise me.
Yeah, he like puts them right next to each other. Yeah. Huey says he was nice and called me his canary.
I like how Butcher being nice is a sure sign of something being wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, is this the sign of the apocalypse for these guys?
I'm reading a book right now. It's called Anti-Fragile. One of the concepts in there is if people are like perfectly predictable, let's say you come home from work every day at 5 p.m. without fail, and then one day you're like 5 minutes late, people are going to freak out. But if you come home within a range of 30 minutes, then it's not a big deal. So what made me think of this, you saying the fact that him being nice is a red flag. He's such an asshole all the time. This is like the same thing as coming home at 5 p.m. every day. And so just one little thing being off, it's a red flag. Something's wrong. It's immediately, he doesn't have that 30-minute window.
I agree. Oh.
So Butcher needs to work on his anti-fragile mechanisms.
Would this be related to interpersonal relationships and anti-fragility?
It's a really complex topic that I'm not sure I fully, I'm like 20% of the way through the book. This was just one example that came to mind, but I'm not sure I'm prepared to speak authoritatively on it yet. I haven't absorbed all the concepts, but at a high level, the way it's introduced is the opposite of fragility is anti-fragility. And a lot of people would say that is robustness, but it is not. That is another thing. So if something is fragile, let's say it is something where anything out of the norm will topple it, right? Let's say you build a house of cards, right? In an static environment with no wind or anything, a little bit of wind comes in, knocks it down. A little tremor knocks it down, right? The opposite of that is something that thrives on chaos.
Sure.
Not something being robust. I don't have more to go beyond that yet. Some examples are large central government is super fragile, but small collections of city-states are able to handle little issues happening a lot better.
Yeah, okay, cool. I like that.
Yeah, one example.
Sweet.
I'll report back on that later. MM turns to Huey and walks up to him. He says, "Tell me everything he said." This really got his attention when he heard Butcher was being nice. Kamiko is walking in the street. She has a card in her hand, and she's looking at it. We can see that Frenchie is following her from about a block back. We go back to the Dawn of the Seven set. Ruby is addressing Agent Pearson. Agent Pearson comes out from behind the wrecked helicopter, coughing. He says, "Oh, you're a sight for sore eyes, Agent Cruz. I thought we lost you."
An agent.
So now Ruby is an agent. She is a hacker, tattooed.
She's kind of like that Lisbeth Salander
for the
character
FBI.
From the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, or but better, little kind of American version of that. Yeah.
The people that wrote this script, it's crazy. It's like, have you ever seen a Fed that looks like this?
No, like I said earlier, she's dressed more like a sidekick for Maeve than as a Fed.
Yeah. Ruby says, "I got by with a little help from a friend." She looks at Maeve. Agent Pearson asks, "So, good news or bad?" Ruby pulls something out of her boot. It appears to be a flash drive in the shape of the Vought logo. This thing is ridiculous looking. It's this huge monstrosity. I'm surprised she could fit in her boot.
Oh, I know it. It looks like like a perfume bottle stopper. That's one of these giant flowers. It's huge.
It's got like a gold band around it where the cap is. Yeah. Agent Pearson says, "Yeah, I'd say that's good news." We hear Bork in the background yell, "And now the CG mutants approach." Pearson turns to see two actors dressed in green coming up to them. They're holding these rods with balls on the end of them. They're also painted green. He says, "And there's the bad news. There's no way we can restore the grid if we don't get that flash drive to the tower." Maeve walks up to Ruby holding her hand out. Ruby asks, "But how are you going to get through all of them?" We hear Starlight say, "Don't worry." The camera turns to Starlight in feminist attire and Stormfront, It's an epic shot.
Yes.
Looking up at them from the waist up, we only see the sky behind them. Maeve walks up and stands next to Starlight and crosses her arms. Stormfront says, "Girls, get it done." The movie Dawn of the Seven was written around this shot with the delivery of this line. The entire movie exists to kind of cement that ad campaign.
Oh, so cringy. So absolutely cringy. But look at Stormfront leading the way in that shot, though. She kind of like is like the first one to say that, "Girls, get it done."
Mm-hmm. Bork yells, and cut on rehearsal. No one move, no one move, no one move. He runs up to Starlight and says, "I'm not touching, but can you just take a step?" He tries to reposition her place within the trio of women. He wants her to stand closer to Stormfront, and Bork says, "And let's just pretend like you like her, okay?" Starlight does a forced laugh and says, "Okay, if I have to." He, laughing, says, Okay, good stuff." Stormfront says, "I mean, clearly you like me. You've been eyeing me like a lovesick stan girl all day. Why is that?"
Did you know what a stan girl was?
Well, I hear stans all the time online. So I have like the connotation of like what a stan is. So what do you want to get into it?
I found out that Stan Girl was a documentary that was about social media addictions. And it was about a young a woman. I think a woman. I guess Helenoa Abraham Pace. I got no idea. In creating and running accounts for Sebastian Stan. That's the guy that played Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram fan account, and the account was a hobby, became successful, and turns into an obligation, then an obsession. So, fangirl was the other simpler term, or fan, that fanboy, fangirl, I guess. Whatever it stands, though, is that the same idea as a fangirl or a fanboy?
This must be like the basis of stans. They might have just shortened it, so maybe that is where it started.
Okay.
But ultimately, it boils down to the same thing. It's like these fans online that, you know how divisive everything is online.
Oh, yeah.
So the stans, they're like white knighting for whatever.
Well, see, no, don't get me wrong. I dig Sebastian Stan. I like Winter Soldier, dude.
This has nothing to do with him. He's just caught up in this somehow.
Well, that's kind of funny and kind of cool in a way, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you kind of? It's like you're the basis for a term. It's kind of cool.
Depends on the term.
That is true. That doesn't seem so bad. Here, he seems to be like the object of the obsession. So it's kind of cool. Maybe scary. It could be scary. I got no idea.
Yeah. Starlight says, "I don't know. I think that you're a good actor. And I feel like a friggin' fembot up there, you know?" Stormfront walks off as Starlight is talking. Bork gets everyone on set to get ready to roll the cameras. The show switches to the intro for Extra.
And of course, I am reminded of South Park. Don't you ever watch? Do you remember the episode there? It's like, you're watching E! Entertainment News. God knows what.
I can't remember what episode that was.
Oh, I forget which one exactly it is, but I think it has to do with the. It's probably something to do with the Kardashian or Baby Honey Boo Boo. I can't remember which one. I had no idea. There's too many to name. They're too good.
Yeah. Nancy O'Dell, as herself, is presenting the superhero news. She says former Seven member The Deep surprised everybody last week when he married Cassandra Schwartz, an anthropology professor at Vassar, in an intimate ceremony. We can see footage from the reception. They're smashing cake all over each other's faces. The camera zooms out to show the show is on the TV in a kitchen. An elderly woman is giving another elderly woman a box of banana saltwater taffy, allegedly.
Right.
We'll find out later what I mean by that.
Right.
The recipient of the taffy says, "God bless. Ron can't live without it." The doorbell rings. It's Butcher. The first woman is surprised, greeting him by name. He says, "Hello, Judy." The other woman asks, "Who's this?" Judy says, "He's my nephew." Back in the kitchen, Judy is making some tea. She says, "For sake, Billy, you got to ring your mom." Butcher asks, "Where's my boy?" Judy says, "Your mom and dad are flying over, you know. Your mom's worried to death about you." Butcher says, "No, you tell them no. It'd be a waste of a perfectly good plane ticket." Judy says, your father's quite ill. The cancer's spreading fast. Butcher says, yeah, well, not fast enough. I ain't seeing him. Now, where's me boy? In another room, we see Butcher walk up to a dog bed. The English bulldog we saw from Butcher's flashback in season 1 is there. And that's the flashback where him and Becca are still living in an apartment together. There was a dog
Yes.
kennel, and we saw
Yes.
this dog. He greets the dog with, oi, terror, you little rascal, eh? Look at you, you little you haven't changed a day. He pets the dog and asks, how about you and me go for a little stroll then, eh? Yeah? Come on. The dog follows him. Outside, Butcher is walking Terror down the street. Of note, Terror is not on a leash. He's such a good boy. He's walking next to Butcher without running off.
I'm not much of a dog guy. I'm a cat guy, but Terror is awesome, dude, and well-mannered and so hideous. He's cute. I love that dude.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really cute.
He's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And I love the way he just kind of like struts with it there. He's so chill, just kind of, I love that.
The neighborhood is eerily quiet and uniform in construction, almost like the houses were copied and pasted as closely as possible.
Yeah.
An old man passes Butcher. He's on an electric scooter.
Now, I looked real closely because I didn't know if that was an older or a younger man in this, because the street is, like you said, it is eerily quiet.
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of curious if he's under. I was curious there if he thinks he's under any surveillance or anything, because it's so quiet. That would make me think there's something the matter. The way they I guess I got no idea. I'm used to more action.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think the eeriest thing about it is there's no cars in the driveways.
Yeah. And that's odd. I guess they may be in garages, but it's still just really, it's like no one.
But I mean, what neighborhood has every driveway empty?
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
It's very off-putting.
Yeah. Butcher quips, so this is what it all comes to, eh? Metamucil and wringing our out for a few drops of piss. He scoffs and looks at Terror. The dog is adorable, we've already mentioned, and he's just sitting there looking up at Butcher.
Is that where we see his great underbite, dude?
Yeah, I think so.
That underbite is fantastic. I mean, that's a good one. That's a good quarter-inch underbite that fellow's got. I don't know, but I love that dog's underbite.
Yeah. Butcher says, I used to think that you, me, and Becca would grow old together. Bloody stupid. Turns out she don't. He scoffs and shakes his head. He says to himself, what the was any of it for? Before we go on, I wanted to ask you, what does getting old look like to you in your mind? How do you see your life when you're 70 years old?
I don't see a whole lot difference. You know, hopefully I'm in good health and able to work and just kind of continue just like being with a woman I'm in love with. You know, maybe if she, you know, I don't have children, but maybe she has some grandchildren, maybe some grandchildren around every now and then. It's kind of, you know, my problem is I still feel like I'm like 18 in my head all the time.
Same. I feel young.
Yeah. And see my great aunt, even, you know, and even as an old woman told about the fact, you know, well, I was, you know, I still feel like I'm like this 17-year-old girl in my head. So I don't think it changes for a lot of people. That mindset of people does, but maybe I'll be the video gaming granddad.
Okay. A-Train is on set looking at some notes. We hear Bork in the background saying, yes, there he is. There's my guy, looking spectacular as always. A-Train gets up and they greet each other. He asks him, feel good? A-Train says, yeah. Bork asks, are you ready to crush this big scene today? A-Train doesn't seem that enthusiastic. He says, yeah, that's basically what I wanted to talk to you about, because I did a little bit of a rewrite and I want you to take a look. He hands Bork the notes.
I don't know anything about Michael Bay. Is this Bork any kind of, like, because I know that Michael Bay's movies, I've never seen any of his movies either, because I know they're just a lot of effects. I said that they may be great stories.
You haven't seen any?
I don't name, I may have by accident.
All right, let's go down the list. Have you seen The Rock?
The Rock? With Sean Connery?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I've seen that. Yeah, I dug that.
That's a Michael Bay movie.
Okay, I dug that one.
Okay. Have you seen Transformers?
No.
Okay. So that's those three. You haven't seen Bad Boys. You said that before, right?
Yes.
Con Air. Have you seen Con Air?
I have seen Con Air. Yeah.
I don't know if that's a Michael Bay movie. That might just be okay. Maybe not that
Michael
one.
Bay like movie.
Maybe.
Okay.
Those are kind of the big ones that come to mind.
Okay.
He's done other ones too.
I know that the Transformers are what I understand him to be extremely famous for. Transformers, I was older when that stuff was becoming popular, so I was never a big fan of Transformers. So I was not excited or anything to see this. It had zero resonance with me. So that's the only reason I avoided. They might be great. I might enjoy them. I might become a Transformers fan. I have no idea. Did you like them?
The first one was good. The second one I enjoyed. Then I never saw the third one somehow. It was kind of odd. Armageddon. You seen Armageddon?
No, but I understand it. I mean, that's a Bruce Willis movie, right? They're saving the comet, a Deep Impact style movie or whatever.
Yeah, I think Armageddon came out first. This was back when Hollywood was doing, this studio's doing one movie, we're gonna do the exact same thing. This happened a couple times.
Well, and this has always happened. This has always been the studio's response to things, and I for some reason I typically tend to avoid disaster style movies for some reason. I think it specifically has to do with the airport movies, not airport movies, which airplane is a riff on the airport movies.
Airport, was that one of the ones where the airplane went, it was underwater, the people were trapped in it and they had to rescue them?
It could be, I'm not really sure, but there's like 2 or 3 of them. There's like Airport 70, I don't know, it may be 75 Airport, and there was like 75, 76, 77, like 3 years running kind of like air disaster movies. I was just young. It was like star-studded casts made for television. Sometimes, maybe they were made for the, maybe it was also made for the theaters too. I have no idea, but I was really young during that era. But I did like that. But that's why Airplane was so popular, because it was riffing on those.
Okay. Bork looks at the notes. There are a lot of them. He says, yes. Wow, what a lot of work. A-Train says, yeah, I just felt the dialogue was a little off, A-Train would never say any of this. He points to some of Bork's script. We can make out some of the script. I have transcribed it here.
I had seen that you have. That's nicely done there, sir.
Yeah, here we go. Right. Homelander watches Queen Maeve, Stormfront, Starlight, and Black Noir as they walk towards the tower in the city. They did it. They're a team. A whoosh behind him. A-Train says, Homelander, sir. Homelander turns to find A-Train, dust clearing in his path. He asks, did you destroy the Eternity crystals? What the heck is this movie about? They got this flash drive that needs to get to the tower. Right. And there's mutants, and then there's Eternity crystals. It sounds like a train wreck.
It sounds like, it's like this movie, like where they're cramming it's just too much going on to make any sense.
Yeah. A-Train nods. He says, let's just say I'm faster than hot magma and evil sons of
Wow, that's a really bad one.
Yeah, like A-Train sounds like that at all.
Right.
Homelander gives him a nod. He's done so much. I'm not 100% sure if this last part's correct. It's kind of hard to read the page. It's a little blurry. Okay. He says, good work, son. We're lucky to have you on the team. Let's catch up to the others. As he turns away, A-Train begins to speak. His voice breaks a little here. He's impassioned, solemn. I was just a scrawny kid from the South Side when I broke into the big leagues, and you all took me in, became my family. This team has given me everything. Homelander nods. He too knows the value of this team. A-Train continues, an emotional beat in the soundtrack. But the truth is, I've been running my whole life. It's time I stay put for a while. It's time I went home. That's the end of the page.
Nice. Do I give you a...
Thank you.
Nice. You're okay. Thank you. So nicely done, sir. Nice. I felt that right in my Michael Bay.
Right in the...
Yep. Yeah, again, I'm casting stones. I don't know Michael Bay. I apologize for this.
He is known for two things in my mind.
Well, I think of South Park. It's all I can think about, of course.
Okay, well, I don't know what they say about him.
All that they do is they say there's a world-ending thing going on, and we're trying to save it. We're trying to think outside of the box. So we bring Michael Bay in, and Michael Bay just starts describing what's going to happen and what the shot's going to be.
I remember that episode.
Yeah, right. And they're like, and he's like, it's this because that's just special effects. Where's the story? and that's the only impression I have. And this could be really a woefully terrible impression I have, thanks to my beloved South Park. But
well,
I don't know what else to say.
let me explain the two things that I know him for. Okay.
Okay.
He's very famous for a particular shot where the camera is below the hero. They are either kneeling or standing up. They look very confused. Something has just happened, and it's a 360 shot around them, spinning. Okay. You can go on YouTube and look up compilations of this shot from Michael Bay movies. Okay. So that's one. The other one is he's got a real big hard on for the military. And he really does a good job actually filming all of the military equipment. So this is really prevalent in The Rock, the Transformers movies, like any number of the ones where they can get military equipment in there. He absolutely does. So those are the two things that he's known for.
I'm a huge fan of the military as well. So
Bork responds to the feedback. He says, right. A-Train says, and you definitely just don't need that giant expo dump at the end. And this is the dump where they're introducing his retirement. So I had to laugh at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
Bork questions him, your big farewell speech? They both uncomfortably chuckle. A-Train says, honestly, I think it's better if we just leave it open-ended. You know what I mean? We can just play it in looks and just not a whole bunch of words. Maybe make it more of a question, like, is A-Train really leaving the 7? We don't know. Bork looks uncomfortably at the edits, then says, yeah, I think we're just going to go ahead and do the scene as scripted. But thank you for putting all this thought into it, right? It shows you got a lot of heart. Take that heart, put it into the scene. He claps his hands, turns, and walks away. He says, all right, good stuff. A-Train says, I'm not doing it. Yeah, could have seen that one coming.
Right? Absolutely. Now, this brings up something that I just hadn't really thought about, too, is the fact that these members of the 7, they have to be like American Idol kind of people. They have to be able to sing. They have to be able to apparently act because they act in their own movies. And
they're the full package.
They are the full package, plus, so there you go. That's kind of, it's very, very strange and entertaining.
Yeah. That they have to audition to get into Vought. It's not a matter of what your powers are. It's what do you bring to the table?
Absolutely.
Bork is visibly frustrated. He mouths something in frustration before putting a smile on his face and turning around to face A-Train. A-Train says, I'm not doing this scene. Bork walks back up to him and shakes his head, saying, well, that is way above my pay grade. Bring that up with Ashley, right? He nods, then repeats, right. He again turns and walks away. Suddenly he remembers something. He turns back around. Oh, by the way, I got the crew a Vietnamese crepe truck. They make a gluten-free bon zao. It is fantastic. He points at A-Train and says, you're going to be great, baby. I looked up this bon zao stuff because I haven't had it before. Here's the description. It's a crispy stuffed rice pancake popular in Vietnam. The name refers to the sound the rice batter makes when it is poured into the hot skillet. It is a savory fried pancake made of rice flour, water, and turmeric powder. So that makes it kind of yellow.
Right.
It can also be called a Vietnamese crepe. And I got a picture of these things.
Dude.
They have the crepe folded over. They got some, it looks like bean sprouts and some greens in there with some seafood. It looks really good.
It looks like shrimp or something.
Yeah, shrimp or crab or something.
It looks like it. And I like shrimp. I'm not a big crab guy, but I'm telling you what, I would try that because I'm not sure if I don't think it's spinach, but that looks like a great, an amazing taco almost. I don't know. That looks fantastic, dude.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not very, and I too am not a bold or experimental eater, but I would try that, dude. That looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, with Vietnamese food, they have some stuff which isn't that adventurous. I get the vermicelli noodles with the grilled pork. This stuff's incredible, right? So it's not like that dissimilar to like a grilled meat with something, And
see, that is really the only problem I bring up with this small town is the fact that I don't have a lot of taquerias. I don't have much of in the way of good Asian food.
Mm-hmm.
it's traditional Chinese dishes that are, a majority American dishes. What I'm
I
talking
got you.
about.
Americanized Chinese
So,
food. Yeah.
Americanized Chinese food,
Yeah.
and that's about it. Because this is a tourist site of places. I mean, they come here, they come to this town next to us, Fredericksburg, about 20 miles away. And I mean, especially Fredericksburg. And, but there's not very many great restaurants. And it's really strange. And we don't have it, it's like there's a great steakhouse here, but they don't have, I mean, we have good restaurants. We don't have a very wide variety of restaurants. And I do miss that about the city.
Yeah, that's one nice thing about Houston is there is a ton of Vietnamese restaurants around here.
Yeah.
And then also there's some Thai restaurants as well, which are, if you've never had Thai food, it's incredible.
I have had that here. There is a beautiful Thai restaurant here that sits on the river. We have the Guadalupe River here, and it was a really great. It's a very romantic place here. A very, very beautiful setting. Very very good food.
Yeah, that Thai basil, man, it's delicious.
Yeah, my Thai experience is limited, but it's really good here, though. I really like it.
Yeah.
I will go back.
Okay, cool. Bork has walked off. A-Train is left standing there, his arms crossed. He's upset. The Deep and his creepy wife are on the Katie Couric show. Katie says, "Deep, you look so happy. I hardly recognize you." The Deep responds, "Katie, I'm in love, to an extraordinary woman. I'm now blessed to call my wife." I was kind of expecting him to do the Tom Cruise stand on the couch and stomp his feet.
I was going to say something. It's great minds, because you were so Tom Cruise. I was like, is this a nod to Tom Cruise? Because he's got that same infection. That's exactly where I was going with that. Nice. He is exactly. He's channeling that.
I think he had to be, because this is like a Scientology play, right?
Yes, absolutely.
The Church of the Collective.
Yes.
His wife Cassandra smiles and chuckles. Katie says, that's really nice. Well, let's address the elephant in the room, shall we?" Cassandra says, "Well, I'm glad you asked, because, Kevin here has had some issues in the past, but people grow. And if you could see the letters that he writes me, I mean, you would know what a beautiful soul he has."
Man, is she just even creepier than Carol?
I think so.
I think so too. But she plays it so beautifully.
Yeah.
I see why this woman is I'm air quote. I'm making quote signs with my fingers. It's like, his wife.
Yep. The Deep and Cassandra are looking at each other, and he says, "Oh, thank you. Well, she's only saying that because I make her breakfast in bed, so." Cassandra laughs and tells him, "Oh, stop." He says, "French toast." They are both laughing. Katie says, "So, you are both members of the Church of the Collective." Cassandra confirms that they are.
And they should have had these two been in Dawn of the Seven. They're better actors than the other two. They're the other people that we've seen on set there at Dawn of the Seven. Man, the Deep and Cassandra are putting the show as good.
Yeah, Maeve and Ruby are not doing themselves any favors.
No.
Stormfront seems to, we haven't seen her yet, but she seems to do okay. And Starlight's, I think she
seems kind of decent. Yeah.
One of the more talented of the bunch.
We know she sings beautifully.
Mm-hmm. The camera pans from the TV showing the interview. Some men are in a club. They're speaking either Russian or something that sounds a lot like Russian. One of the men has the ever-present Adidas jacket that the stereotypical Eastern European gangsters...
Did you say ubiquitous?
Yes. Yes.
You don't get to use that too often, sorry. The ubiquitous Adidas jackets?
The ubiquitous Adidas jacket that gangsters from the Eastern Bloc countries wear.
Right, I love it.
One of the men says, "It's not realistic. Alexander Hamilton wasn't no Puerto Rican." They're talking about Hamilton.
The musical Hamilton?
Yeah, the musical. The play Hamilton.
Oh, okay.
Not the movie. Yeah.
Oh,
adaptation
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't seen either, so.
Yeah.
I just was curious. It's kind of funny.
Another gangster says, "That's the point. It's a metaphor for the immigrant experience in America." The first guy says, "But he was a white guy." The second guy dismisses the point, waving his hand. He asks, "You know what's really good? Dear Evan Hansen." I'd never heard of this, so I looked it up. Right. This is about a teen trying to overcome social anxiety disorder.
Okay.
It's about learning that it's okay to be anxious and depressed, and that being medicated for those things, if necessary, is normal and healthy.
Huh. All right.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds good. That is a good thing to know. People need to know this.
They hear the door to the club open, and the third man asks, "Can we help you?" We see that Kamiko has entered. Naturally, she can't respond to the question. The third man gets up and begins to approach Kimiko aggressively. The second man says, "She's just a girl. Show her a picture of kittens or some." He starts laughing. The third man says, "How about I show her my mother?" He's walked right up to her. He puts his hand under her chin and lifts her face up so she is now looking at him. He turns around and says, "Ain't right in the head." Kimiko kicks him in the crotch from behind. Russian pop music starts playing. He's down on his knees. She grabs the side of his face and slowly peels it off.
Wow.
That's nasty.
That is straight out of the book. She actually throws that face on a window in the book, but she is she thoroughly seems to enjoy killing gangsters.
Is she enjoying it?
Well, not here, not in this. In the comics, she just seems to do it because she seems very distant. I still haven't read too much in the series. I may not get much farther. I don't seem to enjoy the series as much as I enjoy the television show.
Oh, okay.
So the show I'm enjoying way better. She's very blasé about everything she does. She seems to kill. She killed a room full of people, and all you do is it shows up from the outside. You hear the screams, and the face hits the window, and she walks out, and this looks like an innocent little girl walking out of a covered in blood, walking out of this place. You're like, wow, out of an abattoir.
Yeah. The other two men yell out in horror. When the man with the peeled face falls to the ground, he's still alive. That's one of the most gruesome things we've seen so far on this show.
I think so.
It's on par with a horror movie.
Hey, you got getting the Ed Gein on. You know,
oh jeez,
she's taking the face off instead of putting it on. It's pretty nasty.
Oh man. Kimiko goes after the second man, flipping around his neck, kind of like they do it with like the MMA fight scenes,
it's a Black Widow scene, isn't it? Doesn't Black Widow do that move like a?
She does it. Gina Carano does it in Fast and the Furious movies. It's like this is like the kind of the woman's attack move that they do now, where they put their leg up on their neck and flip around them. So she does that, and then she ends up behind him. She breaks his back, then his neck. The last man standing has finally got a gun out, and he begins shooting Kimiko. Like a Terminator, she is unfazed. She slowly approaches. She dispatches the last man by taking the gun from him and stabbing him through the eye with it, then continues on to the back of the club. Frenchie enters the club. He inspects the carnage and exclaims, "Merde."
Did you know what that meant?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I did. I've heard that enough. I'm like, I knew what that one was.
Yeah. Butcher enters Judy's house following Terror's walk. He walks into the living room to find MM and Huey there. Judy says, "Oi, Billy, you should have told me you were bringing company." "Oi, who's this one remind you of?" She points at Huey. She asks, "Isn't he the spitting of Lenny?" Butcher looks pissed. He says, "No." Huey says, "I thought you were retiring. Argentina, right?" Butcher says, "I am. What are you doing here?" MM says, "Well, Huey heard a dog toy on the phone, and I know you keep Terror at your aunt's, so..." Butcher says, "Brilliant as ever. Time to go." Huey says, "Come help us with Stormfront." Butcher asks, "Came all this way for that, did you?" Huey says, "No, we came because we're worried." Butcher says, "Your sense tingling, is it? Well, don't you worry. I'm sorted." MM asks, "Where's Becca, man?" Judy is surprised, asking, "Becca? What's he talking about?" Butcher says, "Waiting for me at the Hampton Inn." So he claps his hands, then says, "Lots of thanks. Time to piss off." MM says, "We're not going anywhere." Huey shakes his head. Butcher says, "Right." Then turns around and begins to leave the house. Judy clears her throat and chuckles, telling Huey, "Just so you know, that's Tara's girlfriend." She points at a pig plush that Huey has picked up from Tara's dog bed. Huey asks, "What?" Judy clarifies, "His pig." When I heard her say this, it immediately made me love this character. Like, Judy is so cool, man.
I love her.
Yeah.
I absolutely love this woman. Her name is Barbara Gordon. She's not Batwoman, mind you.
Okay.
But that is the lady playing Butcher's aunt, and I really like her too. She's very very likable.
Yeah, I agree. Butcher is getting in his vehicle outside. He starts the engine and begins to put his seatbelt on. He looks in the driver's side mirror and sees Black Noir on the roof of a house across the street. He's sticking out like a sore thumb. He's wearing black against a backdrop of brown shingles on the roof. I would expect better from him.
I would too, unless he wanted Butcher to see him. Do you think that Noir may have wanted him to see him?
You always mess me up with this noir stuff. You like come at it from a different angle, the psychological game. Maybe.
Because there's some things that are said later on here that kind of freak me and you both out a little bit in this conversation about Noir. So I don't know. I don't know if he likes to toy with them. We saw what this guy did for fun to those Middle Eastern folks when he attacked them in their compound, and how he took that. It's like I couldn't see his face, but he seemed to take a pride in that. I don't know why I think that.
Bring out the scary side of Noir for me.
Good.
Yeah.
he's scary to me too. That's why. Okay. It's got and this goes to the Batman side of it here, and I'm not hating on Batman here. Batman he's one of the few people that can actually generate an aura of fear, like it's a power that's he can do as the Batman that no one else can really do. People are terrified of Batman, and this includes the suits.
That was his goal, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's his goal, but it also tends to work on the supes as well that he works with.
Rightfully so. They should fear him.
Rightfully so. Hey, I've said, and I've happily agreed that Batman is he's hands down the most dangerous man on the planet. There's no man more dangerous.
Yeah. I'm going to stop this. We're going to stop this right here because we're going to get too far into, I want to save all of this for the episode we're going to do on that.
The episode.
Yes. Because there's a storyline that I'm going to reference.
Okay.
Where I've said too much already.
Okay.
Butcher thinks for a moment. Next, we see he's entering the house again. He closes and locks the door behind him. He turns to the others and says, Black Noir's here. Huey's eyes get wide and he says, what? Butcher is closing the curtains on the windows in the room. says, it wasn't us. We were cautious. We swapped cars, no toll roads. Butcher says, it's not you. It's me. He must have tracked me from Becca's. Judy asks Butcher what's going on. Butcher tells her, it's complicated. Becca's not with me. Huey says, you couldn't get her out? Butcher says, she didn't want out. Huey and give each other a look. Butcher walks up to Judy and says, I'll explain everything, but right now we're in a little bit of trouble. I'm sorry, Judy. I shouldn't have come. Huey is thinking out loud. He says, okay, maybe we can make a run for it. Just get to the car. says, no. He moves faster than a car.
Wow.
Now that is terrifying.
That is absolutely terrifying.
continues, but if he wants to kill us, he'll have to do it with an audience. Next, we see a fire truck driving down the street to Judy's house. The fire truck intercom is blasting the following message. This is the fire department. A natural gas leak has been reported. Everyone out of your homes. Black Noir hunkers down on the roof, trying to minimize his profile. Butcher says, nice one, says, let's hope they stay a while. turns to Judy and says, ma'am, do you have any nails, ball bearings, electrical wiring, pressurized aerosol products? He holds his hands out about a foot apart and says, I need a can about this big. Really appreciate it. I really like where his mind's going with this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He just goes right into knowing what to do mode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. In the catering tent on the movie set, Starlight is about to get some food. We hear Stormfront talking to Starlight's mom, saying, Team Brittany, 2007. Remember the meltdown? Starlight's mom is laughing. She says, oh, yeah, that. Starlight is not happy to see her. She puts her plate down and makes a beeline for her. Starlight's mom is telling Stormfront, but you're a firecracker. Starlight walks up saying, Mom? She says, Annie, oh, you look so pretty. Starlight says, what are you doing here? Her mom says, I'm in town. I've been texting you for days. I wasn't trying to ambush you, I promise. I don't believe it for a second. What
I agree with you.
alternative is there if she's not responding to her text messages? She
Oh,
obviously doesn't want to see her, so it is an ambush.
it is. I agree. It's total ambush move.
Stormfront says, did you get any of the Vietnamese crepes? Because they're dope.
I bet they are dope. If they looked anything like that, oh my word. I would have had about 10 on my plate.
Last weekend, I was in Austin, and there's this really good Asian fusion restaurant there. I think it's called, I got to look up the name of it. They had this brand new, they called it a Vietnamese pizza.
Okay.
It was an appetizer. It's like a really thin rice sheet. And then on top of that, they put this pork stuff with some basil and some sauce on top. So it was crispy on the bottom. And then it had you cut it into slices, eat it like a little mini pizza. That was delicious. So I'm assuming this is just as good.
Sounds absolutely delicious.
Yeah. Starlight says, no, I'm good, thanks. She sits down at the table across from her mother. Her mother is smiling at her. Stormfront is saying, your mom was telling me about the hero pageants you used to do. Starlight forces a fake laugh. Stormfront continues, lucky. My mom would never let me. Adele did not go in for that sort of thing. I had to do all my speeches to a brush in the mirror. Starlight's mom looks at Starlight and tells her, I like this one. Starlight says, Mom, this isn't a great time. Her mom says, I know that you're busy, but you don't have to entertain me. I promise. I wanted to see you, sweetheart. I miss you. Stormfront is slurping her drink through a straw and batting her eyelashes at Starlight. Starlight weakly chuckles and says, I think that this is something that we need to discuss in private. Stormfront puts her drink down and says, Donna, can I tell her? Starlight asks, tell me what? Stormfront says, look, your mom is so sorry about the Compound V, and she understands that keeping that a secret really hurt your relationship. Donna then says, yeah, and that I use you as a trophy to make myself feel important. I know that now. Starlight says, why are you talking to a stranger about our relationship? Donna says, she's not a stranger. She's your teammate. Stormfront smiles innocently when Starlight looks at her. I really like how Stormfront's acting in this whole sequence. Yes. Yeah, she does a good job.
She's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Donna says, Annie, the whole world knows about Compound V. I mean, lots of parents did what I did. I'm hoping that you'll forgive me. Please forgive me, Annie. Starlight says, this is not the time or the place for this. Stormfront jumps into the exchange, saying, look, everyone is upset about Compound V. I mean, someone was so upset, they leaked it to the press. Can you imagine how angry that person is? She looks directly at Starlight and says, whoever they are. She stares at her for a while. Shots are fired. How could she know about this?
Her tech team. Maybe she has proven that they're pretty formidable people. So maybe maybe she's got some really good hackers in that bunch too. If they're meme smiths like that are able to saturate, I'm sure that they're able to find out things. Maybe from some footage. Maybe she got footage from Vought. From that, maybe she's seen things. Who knows? I have no idea. But she's proving herself to be quite formidable, is she not?
Yeah, she is.
I like her.
Yeah. I don't want to say too much right now, given what we find out later in the episode. It kind of makes me wonder what she has access to.
I know it.
Starlight doesn't say anything. Stormfront says, I'll let you two hash it out. But I just think, if it was me, I'd be grateful to have a mom like Donna. She stands up and walks off. Donna gets up and walks around the table to sit next to Starlight. She puts her hand on her arm and says, honey, please. Starlight pulls her hand back and says, I need to get back to set. Do you need someone to drive you back to your hotel? Donna says, no, I'll get a cab. Starlight says, okay, and gets up and walks away. Now, in this scenario, the fact that the mom showed up here, Starlight's probably already dealing with enough just being on a movie set, working.
Yes.
For her to show up here like this, even if it's an act of desperation because she can't get a hold of her, I mean, she's putting a lot of stress and pressure on her while she's working.
Yes. That's a lot of, that's all. And especially because unbeknownst to everyone else, she's also working with Huey. and it's also just been called out by Stormfront
Mm-hmm.
by that last comment. So it's like, this is, that's a lot to swallow. And then to have this woman have been cozying up to your mom. So it's probably a couple of different things. She's mad at her mom still, but she's also probably a little freaked out that this woman appears to know that she is the whistleblower. And then she's here with her mom. It's like, is this, is that a threat? So therefore, now is she scared for her mom as well? In a weird, I mean, do we know? I don't know. I'm really not sure if that's even. I don't even know if that's registered to her at that point.
I don't think so.
I think it's just more the ambush move is kind of cruddy because of what you said where they're working and everything.
Yeah. Seth and Evan, the two writers that came up with Starlight's transformation from a small town Iowa girl into a big city feminist, are presenting some ideas on set. They're speaking with Maeve and Elena. I would like to point out that Seth is also the individual that had his junk frozen and broken off during a freak accident while sleeping with the soup Ice Princess. Seth is talking, saying, okay, now, Queen Maeve, a goddess, but our Empress of the Otherworld struggles inside. Evan jumps in, saying, questions of identity rock her to her core until she meets, Seth says, Elena, pointing at Elena, who's on set sitting next to Maeve and listening to this presentation. Elena and Maeve both look decidedly unimpressed.
I am unimpressed.
Mm-hmm. Seth continues, the connection is immediate, all-consuming. A sweet sapphic love blossoms, raising Maeve's consciousness and revealing her own inner truth. Evan says, she's gay, and it's okay. It's, Seth finishes the sentence, powerful. She's more than just a superhero now. She is a symbol. Representation matters. Evan says, she's #brave Maeve. Seth pulls out a cartoon drawing. It has a caricature of Maeve standing in a field of sunflowers at sunset, waving a big rainbow flag. Seth says, we're recommending a multi-pronged image makeover. First guest, spots on Queer Eye. Evan says, then an exclusive, it gets better PSA. Ashley jumps in to say, Kimberly Pierce might direct. I didn't know who she was. I had to look her up. She is an American filmmaker, best known for her debut feature film, Boys Don't Cry, which won the Academy Award for Best Actress for Hilary Swank's performance.
Now, I know of the movie, and I knew that Hilary Swank, I know that won her an Academy Award. I think that's what really put her on the map and cemented her, really firmly. But I've not seen it. I take that back. I have seen that one. I think Swank is like transgender in that, if I'm not mistaken. She gets an outstanding performance. If it's what I'm thinking, if it's the one I'm thinking that it is.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know if she was transgender, but I do know that she dressed as a male.
I hope I'm using the correct phrasing. I'm not trying to be offensive or triggering to anybody. I'm saying it was a good movie. She gave an outstanding performance and she deservedly won the Oscar.
She's a great actress.
She's a fantastic actress.
Seth continues, grand marshals at the New York and Chicago Pride because you are too proud. He snaps his fingers twice.
Sorry.
These guys are clowns, man.
Oh, they are, dude. Oh, they're too funny.
Elena, still unimpressed, says, Maeve is bi, right? Ashley says, yeah, you know what? I just feel like it's a bit of an easier sell, a bit more cut and dry. I love it. They don't listen to the people that are going to be impacted by this.
Oh, I know it.
And I guess this is what you get as somebody that sells your image to these corporations. They're just going to run with whatever is in their best interest.
And it's so condescending. I mean, it's so condescending that even I'm offended by this. And I'm not gay or anything. It's like, this is just so, I would be offended if I was gay and saw this. You're right. This doesn't help them.
I mean, they're definitely trying to make them, I think they're playing it up on purpose, right?
Yeah, it's mostly satire because especially look at what you got here. You got two men selling this idea. I'm assuming to be straight men because one fellow suffered a horrendous incident by being straight, the maiming, and the other fellow I'm assuming is straight. So you have straight males telling gay and or a bisexual woman, what it's all about. I mean, that's like me being white telling an African American, what the black experience is all about.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, really?
Evan transitions. He says, now for Elena. Elena asks, me? Seth says, you're going to love it. Yeah. Elena looks at Maeve and asks, why am I part of this? Evan holds up another drawing. This time it's of Elena, and it's what you would expect. It's got a suit. The shirt is buttoned all the way up to the collar. The pants stop mid-shin. The haircut is signaling a certain look. He says, we are going with a polished, tailored look. Elena sighs, saying, that looks like menswear. Seth says, Pew research shows that two feminine women in a relationship sends a problematic message.
These guys are working so hard to make them appear like a man and a woman. And Elena's an attractive woman.
Yeah, she's very feminine.
Yeah, she does not fit this mold that they're trying to force her into.
That's the most aggravating thing about this whole thing, right?
Yes.
Evan says, yeah, this isn't Penthouse Forum. Elena looks at Maeve with a look that shouts, when are you going to speak up? Seth says, Americans are more accepting of gays when they're in a clear-cut gender role relationship, like Ellen and Portia. Elena says, okay, let's get one thing straight. I have no interest in being in a public relationship. Ashley says, oh, you will be compensated, because that's what this is about, right?
Right. That's all it's thinking.
Elena says, I am not for sale. Evan gets a confused look on his face. Elena looks at Maeve and says, really? You're not going to say anything? Maeve doesn't have anything to offer. Elena throws her hands up in disgust and leaves. Maeve watches her walk away, then turns back to Ashley, Evan, and Seth and says, I'll fix this. She walks off after Elena. Ashley says, yeah, and smiles. This whole scenario was just ridiculous.
It is. Absolutely.
But the funny thing is, at the end of it, Seth and Evan look hurt at the rejection.
Yes. They seem very hurt and offended, like they can't imagine that someone might not think like they do.
They're in a bubble.
Very much so.
Elena is leaving the studio and Maeve catches up to her. Elena says, if they want to be in Kendall, they can find someone else. I am going to cash in my vacation days and go stay with my sister. Maeve says, no, you can't do that. Elena says, why? I'm not under contract. Maeve says, this is Homelander, okay? And he's with me. And if you go out there, Elena, there is nowhere you can go that he won't find you. Please stay. I can't protect you if you leave. Elena starts to freak out. She asks, but what are we going to do? Maeve says, we're going to take that mother down. She embraces Elena and asks, you trust me? Elena says she does.
Very powerful there.
You talking about them embracing?
Well, the fact that you see Maeve's fear of and the fact that this is a hostage situation is kind of more clearly spelled out here.
Mm-hmm.
Or I feel like it is, very much so.
Back to Butcher and Company, Huey is setting up a booby trap. It looks like a pot with a bunch of screws and nails in it.
Ooh, nasty.
Yeah.
Claymore. Homemade claymores.
He asks Butcher, is this right? Just like Home Alone, except way less delightful. Butcher doesn't respond. He's sitting on the couch with his arm over Terror, looking off into the distance. Huey says, Butcher? Butcher says, no, it ain't right. He stands up. Huey asks, what's going on? Butcher says, that ninja is here for me, isn't he? Huey responds, yeah, but you can't go out there. He'll kill you. Butcher has put on his jacket. After he pops his collar, he gives Huey a look. Huey scoffs and says, so that's it? Butcher says, expecting a happy ending, were we? Well, I'm sorry, Huey. It ain't that kind of massage parlor. Now, I can keep him busy for a little while, yeah? Give you lot a chance to leg it. I'm knackered. I could use a little lie down. The parallel to when Huey was done, when he was laying inside the whale, it's interesting.
Yes, even more so later as this discussion progresses a little bit, I think.
Yeah. Huey gets upset and says, you, what am I supposed to be impressed by this blaze of glory jerk-off? Butcher says, guess not. Huey says, you don't think I thought about cashing it in after Robin? Because I do. Still. A lot. But I don't. And the thing that kills me is that your wife is alive. She just doesn't want you. That's all. Butcher turns to him and says, "Say that again." Huey says, "So you don't have welcome to the club. I mean, come on. What do any of us have? Besides." Butcher stands up and begins walking towards Huey, interrupting him. He says, "Who the asked you to come here, eh? I don't need your help. You're pathetic. You're so scared of being alone, Huey. First you latch onto Robin, then Starlight, and now me. Well, you know what, son? I ain't interested." He pauses and looks at Huey, then says, "Look, just get out of the way." Huey shakes his head. Butcher says, "Don't make me move you." Walks into the room and says, "You can move him, but good luck with me." I love it, man. It took a lot of courage for Huey to stand up to Butcher there, but I mean, when comes in, backing him up, it's great, man.
Oh, I love it. I got chills with that dude. And but yeah, both those guys stepping up, totally awesome. And man, what do you think? You think I don't know who would win in a fight like that. They both look like some pretty tough fellas.
Yeah,
but I think might take that fella because he looks like he's ready to whoop him right there. It looks like.
We were talking about Butcher taking a punch one time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think of this analogy at the time, but have you seen Eddie Murphy's Raw stand up? Okay.
Yes. Oh my word.
Do you know what I'm about to refer to?
I had forgot about that. Yes.
So he's talking about some men in a movie theater, and it's some Italian men, it's some black men. The Italian men are being racist.
It's because they've just seen Rocky.
They just seen Rocky, and they're fired up. They're like, Rocco! Yeah. And so they see these black gentlemen, and they start saying some crazy stuff to them. Yeah. Very offensive stuff.
Very offensive.
They get into a fight. Eddie's talking about how the small Italian guy, there's these crazy guys that when they fight, they could get kicked in the balls, and instead of like falling down, they're like, "Come on." It's like they just get like fired up.
Right.
And that's what Butcher strikes me as.
Yeah. Well, especially because we've already seen him lay down in a mosh pit, and let people kick him, because he would let them kick him, and he just sat there.
Yeah.
So it's like this guy could take a beating all day, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Oh goodness.
Going back to stepping into the room here, I really like how, depending on who needs to be kind of reinforced mentally, they kind of rotate through and kind of gang up on the person to get them out of their rut.
Yeah.
They come in and they shore them up, and then they get them moving. And
he's a cheerleader, man. He's an encourager. He's a real good encourager.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not just him though. It's like multiple people stepping in.
Yes, but no, he seems. I feel sometimes like he kind of whips this he's able to turn this situation and get everyone on his side or on his side to get people behind him to push somebody. But yeah, you're right. They all banded up to help shore up Mother's Milk when he needed it. So they do band together to shore up the weakest link at the time.
Kamiko's walking down the street again. Frenchie is still following her. Kamiko walks into a church and sits down next to Cherie. Cherie hands an envelope to Kamiko. Frenchie walks up and asks, "What is going on?" in French. He looks perplexed by these two sitting next to each other. Cherie says she wanted the job. Frenchie asks, "You have her doing hits?" Cherie says, "The Albanians have her doing hits. I'm just a girl getting 10%. Frenchie takes a step forward and says, "You." She interrupts him, saying, "I'm sorry, Pumpkin, but I told you, she's no kitten. She can make her own choices." Frenchie kneels down next to Kamiko and asks her why. She just stares at him. He says, "How is this stopping Stormfront? I know you blame yourself for your brother. I know the rage you feel, but this is not the way. This is poison for your soul. I know." She's getting really emotional as he's talking. She starts to cry. He says, "Come with me, mon coeur." She knocks him down and stands up. She signs, "I got my own baby brother killed. He was the only thing that mattered to me. Stop trying to help me. I don't want your help." Frenchie yells at her, "I don't understand what you're saying because you won't teach me." He looks at Cherie, then at Kamiko. He says, this. You. He begins to walk out, but stops and says, go be a monster, then storms off. Here's another parallel. Butcher and Kimiko in this episode, they're both working through their issues and are rejecting the people that are trying to help them.
Yes, they are. And this is, for me, and this is a really powerful scene, because I feel a lot for Frenchie here, because we don't know a lot about Frenchie, but we know he cares an awful lot about Kimiko.
Right.
I mean, he cares. I mean, he would happily throw himself on a grenade for her, kind of guy. I mean,
he practically did.
He did. He did on a flashbang or on a smoke grenade. But, you know, so he's just hurt by this. And I mean, and it also kind of shows me, it talks about that stuff being a poison to your soul. It makes me feel like he has probably done the same thing himself. I think he's speaking from experience here.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's really so good to me. I mean, it's like because we don't experience. Frenchie's always a lot of times more of our kind of comic relief. You know, a lot of times he's our pressure valve. You know, he's where the pressure goes. He helps kind of break that sometimes. But to see him hurt like that, I didn't like seeing that.
Right. I particularly like her acting in this scene.
Yes.
Especially when he's kneeling down talking to her, and his speech is very good. There's a lot of facial expression going on with her in that scene, and then she starts crying. Yes. Yeah, really good job.
You know what? I completely forget about that too, because we have to keep, like we pointed out last episode, we talked about her acting and her range of emotions, without even being able to say a line, and doing all that stuff with her brother and all that stuff too. That's just, man, she's amazing.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah. And on this topic of this angry path and the revenge, a couple of times you and I have discussed, like, where is the line of what you should do, what you shouldn't do, when, you know what I mean? Right. And so recently I've been listening to some people talk about stoicism and, you know, like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca.
Yeah. I know about the Stoics. I don't know much about them, or I don't even really technically know what it is. So I'm looking forward to you telling me about it.
Well, I'm not going to get too far into it. Specifically in this context, Marcus Aurelius was talking about the best revenge against someone who has wronged you is not to do what they did to you, but to be the exact opposite of them.
Right. Have you heard that line? I'm guessing this is a paraphrasing. Best revenge is a life well lived, or something, or something to that effect. The best revenge is just to, kind of live a good life and let it go on. Don't worry about it.
Well, I think in this context, the way I'm interpreting it, and I'm not sure this is the way it was intended. You know, he lived a couple thousand years ago.
Right.
It's rejecting their way of life and living the opposite way.
Right.
Because you can't prove to someone how worthless they are other than not doing what they do. Right. I mean, this is not the way to live. I'm not going to be that type of person, you know?
Right. I agree. That's very well.
But I imagine it's extremely challenging, because, like, when people are wronged, you know, like, you want to exact your toll.
Well, especially as grossly wronged as Kimiko was, with not only the death of her brother, but Stormfront murdering 49 or something like that, a high number, double, mid double digits body count with a triple digit, injury count, and it's all falling on her and her brothers. Basically more on her brother, and it was not at Stormfront, so she's super upset, and rightfully so.
Yeah. After Frenchie leaves, Cherie gets up and hands Kimiko the envelope. Kimiko snatches it out of her hand. We are taken to footage of a beautiful meadow in the mountains. The Deep is performing a voice-over saying, "Remember when you were young and the world was full of possibilities?" We now see a shot looking up at the canopy of the forest. The shot changes to footage of a tornado. The Deep says, "Before all the mistakes, heartbreaks, and disappointments, we see the desiccated body of a dead deer laying on a cracked, dry riverbed."
I think it's a horse.
You think it's a horse?
Yeah, I went back and double checked a couple of times. I'm pretty sure it's a horse.
Okay. It's a horse.
It doesn't really matter. It's a dead animal. Why am I so fascinated to go look at a dead animal? It's a dead quadruped.
Okay.
But I think it's a horse, though.
Okay. I will take your word for it.
All right.
The Deep continues, what if you could go back to the way things were? Another beautiful shot of a flower-filled meadow at sunset. Now we see the Deep. He says, I used to be angry, insecure, and unsure. But thanks to the Church of the Collective, I now know the kind of man I want to be. The kind of man who calls out injustice when he sees it. We hear a woman in the background saying, stop. We see a man in a suit harassing the woman. He's got her pinned against the wall. The Deep walks up and says, hey, dude, that's not cool. He continues speaking, the kind of man who stands up for what's right. He walks up to a boy bullying another in the hallway. It could also just be two boys horsing around. There's not enough context here to tell.
Right.
He says, come on, guys, knock it off. He continues with his speech, the kind of man who sees the potential in all of us. The Deep walks up to another man in an auditorium and shakes his hand. The screen introduces the man as Alistair Adana, chairman, Church of the Collective. Alistair says, so join us at the Church of the Collective and be the person you were always meant to be. On the screen, we see www.churchofthecollective.com and hashtag Church of the Collective. I went to the website and it takes us to a Sony Pictures webpage for the boys.
I paused and went right there too.
Nice.
I stopped and went right at there.
Yeah, after I missed one of them one time, I was like, I gotta straighten this out.
Right.
So I also called 1-8880-CRIMES, but I only got a busy signal. So this was a pending follow-up item from I'm Chris Hansen.
I'm Chris Hansen. As we've discussed in a past episode, this is definitely a riffing on Scientologists. Do you recall Dianetics ads on television?
Yes.
You do. Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
It's like the owner's manual for the mind for only $5.95. It's a great investment in yourself. I
wonder what's in it.
Dude, I have read Battlefield Earth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not terrible. It's entertaining. It's very pulpy. It's huge, but it's a fast read for a book that's that big. I don't see what all the hubbub is with him being. So he's not a great writer. He's not Frank Herbert. He's not Asimov. Heinlein.
He's not Steven Erikson.
He's not. Please. The only person that's even in the same. I mean, there's some guys that are kind of in the same arena. I'll put them in the same arena as him, and we'll say like Frank Herbert. I think we both agree that him and Erikson are kind of two of our bigger fanboys.
Yeah, I would put them up there. Neil Stevenson.
I haven't read him yet.
Yeah, he's pretty good too. There are those writers that sometimes you just kind of get from point A to B to C, right?
Yeah.
Is it Kevin J. Anderson? He wrote some of the Star Wars books.
Yes, I think Anderson. Did Anderson partner up with Herbert's son?
He did for the last couple Dune books. He did, yeah, to finish out the storyline. And that's exactly what it was. It was kind of like A to B to C to D. But then you go back and read like Frank Herbert's stuff, especially like the first book, and it's like it's a whole nother level.
Dude, I don't know what I know. It is. It's like we were talking about drummers earlier. That there's this amazing level of drummers, and then there's these transcendent level of drummers. That's what that one guy is. Erikson and Herbert. And there's a guy, I love Robert Heinlein in that same way, and King. I mean, some guys they're just so much better than everyone else is real. Everyone follows these guys' formulas, kind of. Now, Erikson, I have yet to see anyone try and emulate him. And Erikson, we will say a lot more about Steven Erikson, ladies and gentlemen, a lot more. This show grew out of our love of Steven Erikson, so.
More info coming.
Yes, pending TBD.
The screen zooms out and we see A-Train is watching the promo for the Church of the Collective on a tablet. He scoffs and says, that's a bunch of bull. Stormfront walks up and says, didn't used to be. Church used to mean something. A-Train says, oh, what? Are you a member? She says, I was long time ago. That place used to be pure. And then they just started letting all kinds of people in. You know? Again, she starts slurping her drink. A-Train shakes his head and says, I don't know. So why don't you tell me? Stormfront says, well, I think you do know. Some people are quality and others are garbage. There's an uncomfortable pause. Then Stormfront says, "Oh, by the way, I heard they're retiring you. So unfair." She does a little frowny face. Her tone sounds sarcastic to me.
Oh, she's brutally sarcastic here, and her this she is a masterful at this implied. I don't know what she's trying to imply here. I think I know what she's trying to imply here, but
I think so too.
she does a great job of doing it without saying it. I'm like, wow, you are a pretty rough old thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A-Train leans forward and says, "Do you have a problem?" Stormfront says, "Of course not. Why would you say that?" She goes back to slurping her drink. Ashley walks up and addresses A-Train. "Can I have a word, please?" Ashley says, "Adam tells me you don't want to do the scene." A-Train says, "I just can't be a part of something I don't believe in." They've walked away from where Stormfront's sitting. They're kind of walking through the trailers right now.
Right.
Ashley, speaking from experience, says, "Look, I know it's not easy losing your job, okay? When I got fired, I Tindered my way through Barcelona. Everybody in that city ate my paella. The guy with elephantiasis, but I got through it, and so will you. How desperate would a man have to be to want to get involved with this woman?"
I cannot imagine. She is a drama queen, to put it mildly. But yeah, you have to be pretty desperate. I guess drinking, a lot of drinking was involved, I'm assuming.
A-Train says, "Yeah, but I'm still making it happen. I mean, my A-Trainers sell how many pairs per year?" Ashley says, "Look on the bright side. You served 4 years longer than Mr. Marathon. Now that is something, okay?" A-Train says, "But please, let me just talk to Homelander." Ashley says, "We both know that's not a good idea. I'm sorry." A-Train plays hardball. He says, "I'm not saying the lines." Ashley says, "Okay, this can go one of two ways. One, you leave the 7 with your dignity and your severance package intact. Or two, you get fired for breaching your morality clause by shooting up Compound V and giving yourself a heart attack in the process. It's your choice." She gives him a glare, then walks off. That was well played by her.
I was impressed with her here. Very impressed.
Yeah. It wasn't very nice, but
Right.
had power in that situation, and she used it.
She bossed that situation like a boss.
Yep. Next, we see A-Train is delivering the lines. He's saying, "You know, the truth is I've been running my whole life. I think it's time that I stay put for a while. It's time I went home. I know this is dawn of the 7, but it's sunset on A-Train. It's been a good run." Bork yells, "Cut." Homelander walks away, then turns around. We see it's actually a body double. He points at A-Train and says, "Hey, dude, that was awesome." I mean, Homelander won't even appear in the same shot as him. It's ridiculous, man.
It's gotta hurt. Yeah, he won't. He's awful.
Yeah. Borg walks up saying, "Awesome, A-Dog. That was gold. Buddy, look, I'm ready to move on, but how do you feel? You want another one? Just let me know." A-Train shakes his head and says, "No, man. Go ahead and move on." Almost before A-Train is done talking, Bork is barking out orders. "All right, check it. Moving on." He's not even giving him like an opportunity to kind of just settle, giving him a little dignity. A-Train's just left standing there shaking his head.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I like that Deep is starting to appear more respectable than A-Train. That's really gotta hurt.
Well, what do you mean by that in terms of being respectable?
Well, we're now because he has an ad campaign behind him. The Deep does, showing him to he's married. He's all of a sudden he looks like he's got his act together because he's because of the commercial, and again because of all of a sudden he's just switched to a different team that's handling him as a property.
Right,
And
right.
but the Deep still is too dumb to understand this. I think
Mm-hmm.
he understands to some extent. I believe. I don't know if he fully understands though.
Right, right. He is kind of dumb. Kind of really dumb.
He is pretty dumb.
Congresswoman Victoria Newman is giving a speech. She says, "Yes, it's true. Vought has all the money and the power, and we have, no offense, Jack." She laughs. Someone in the crowd yells, "We love you, Victoria." Do you get kind of an AOC vibe coming off her?
Maybe so. I guess I have this past election cycle and stuff. I have stayed so far out of the loop, and those people have driven me so nuts. I can't stand to see them. So I just don't pay attention to anybody. So I don't
Okay.
know if
All right.
who I don't know if she's supposed to represent any. I think she's just supposed to represent a strong woman figure that is a congresswoman or a senator.
Okay. Okay.
Congresswoman. Sorry, I have no idea who she's supposed to represent.
Okay. I mean, I don't even know that she's supposed to represent a specific individual. I just kind of picked up a little bit of the vibes.
You could very well be. I just don't know enough about that woman. I just know that I've heard the things I've heard about her. Just it's one of those people I get so aggravated with. I just can't. I know myself. I just don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Okay. Victoria continues, but after Homelander's war crime, how can I stay quiet and still look my daughter in the eyes? I can't. I know you can't. And guess what? The House Judiciary can't either. Finally, we are going to hold hearings on Vought and Compound V. The crowd starts clapping and cheering. We can see some of the signs people are holding in the crowd now. Here are some examples. Homelander is not a hero. There's a picture of Homelander with a red X over his face. Vought lied, people died. Victoria Newman, political bad. Real heroes don't need capes. There is a picture of Homelander with lasers coming out of his eyes. The caption reads, too much power. Another one says, soups out of U.S. military. Homelander flies in and does the bad landing.
I think that's the sickest one yet, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, he strikes that ground like a meteor. And it's I love it.
Yeah, and the crowd is immediately silenced.
Yes.
That's probably why it seems more impactful, I think, also because the aftermath is just dead silent.
Well, usually people cheer for him when he arrives.
Yep.
And to have the exact opposite happen because this is an anti-Homelander rally.
They're scared of him.
Well, they are. They have and with reason.
Everyone that was cheering is suddenly silent. Victoria looks terrified. Homelander addresses the crowd, saying, "Hey, everyone." He smiles at Victoria and walks over to her. He says, "May I?" She slowly hands him the mic. He says, "Thank you." Speaking into the microphone, he says, "Congresswoman Newman, everybody. Isn't she great? Don't you love that little walk like an Egyptian dance she did online?" He turns to her and says, "So fun. I loved it." We can see that Ashley is watching this on a tablet. Homelander continues, "But fun is not what we're here for, is it?" Ashley is freaking out. She's saying, "No, no, 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 no." Homelander says, "Let me just start by saying how pleased I am to see you all here." Ashley is yelling at everyone in her tent to get the out. She's like, "You, get out." She cussed at him a couple times. Homelander says, "I'm so glad that we live in a country where all your voices can be heard. I know that some of you are a little upset by that video online of me stopping the terrorist, and I just want you to know that I understand. I'm upset too." He has walked into the crowd at this point. He goes on, "I mean, come on, guys. Nobody wants innocent people to get hurt. Of course not. But sadly, well, the bad guys, they don't think like us. And so sometimes, well, these things just happen." Homelander is now back on stage. The crowd starts murmuring. One man yells out, "Wait, this has happened before?" Another man yells, "How many times?" Homelander says, "Well, no, hold on, guys. My point is, we all have the same goals, don't we? To keep our country safe." Ashley is really freaking out now. Her breath is coming in short gasps. A woman yells, "So American lives are the only ones worth protecting?" Homelander says, "Of course not. But if you served with our amazing soldiers like I have, you would know that freedom comes at a price." A soldier in the crowd yells out, "You don't speak for us." The crowd then starts getting rowdy. A bunch of people start yelling out that he doesn't speak for them. They begin chanting it. Homelander tries to de-escalate the situation, saying, all right, everyone just calm down. Calm down. Let's not let your hearts get in the way of your heads." The crowd is chanting, "You don't speak for us." Homelander is still talking. "Everyone just relax. Calm down." The soldier flips him off. Someone yells, "Homelander." His eyes start to glow, and he cuts down the soldier, then continues to mow down people in the crowd. The crowd turns into a stampede. There is an incredible overhead shot of the lasers scything through the crowd, leaving a swath of bloody bodies in its wake.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. And he sweeps to the right, and then he comes back across, and the arc is wider, and it's like hundreds of people.
Yeah.
At first, it's kind of localized right in front of him, but then when he widens it out, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's a trippy. I watched that scene about 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, it's really well done. He stares at the bodies for a moment. Then we see that all of this was in his head, and the crowd is still chanting. After a moment, he says, all right, you guys are the real heroes. God bless you. Love you guys. He hands Victoria the microphone and takes off. Back in the tent, Ashley realizes she's pulled out some of her hair. This is trichotillomania, as we mentioned in our last episode.
Yes. And I feel bad for her here, especially because that's a big chunk of hair she pulls out there.
Yeah. Back to Butcher and Company, the firefighters are letting people back in their houses. Somehow, Black Noir has gone unnoticed this entire time. The firemen leave. In Judy's house, MM says, it's time. Judy says, right, lads, to the taffy room. She takes them into the basement. Butcher says, this is bollocks. Judy opens a metal door in the basement, and they enter another room with what appears to be drug-producing paraphernalia on a table. Huey says, this is the taffy room? Judy says, an affordable alternative to privatized healthcare. Huey looks at Butcher. Butcher shrugs and says, she's a dealer. It's great.
Yep. I love her. I really like her. She's really funny.
Mm-hmm. Homelander is in a dark hallway. He's watching footage of himself addressing the crowd on his phone. He's talking to himself. He's saying, oh, you He doesn't really finish that sentence, but he's kind of alternating between, there's a montage. He's freaking out as he's watching this footage. He's alternating between hysterically laughing, crying, and being angry. He's cussing at himself. There's violin music playing in the background. He comes to a decision and leaves the hallway.
But yeah, he's starting to look really unhinged before he gets it together. I mean, yeah, he's wild through here.
Yeah, between the laughing and the crying, and he's like hysterical. Yeah, yes. He's really
that's scary. That really scares me there.
Stormfront is in her trailer on the movie set. She's talking on the phone. She says, no one ever said the job was easy. There's a man on the other side of the phone. He's playing with a lighter that says committee on it.
Do you think that is some kind of reference to Kill Bill?
Oh, you're talking about the wagon?
I am. Thank you for saying that. But okay. Yeah. Well, because he's in Scrubs, he's got that. So I wonder if that's a kind of a shout out. I'll dig that up. I'll put a pin in that.
The text font is the same, I think.
Yeah, it's got real 70s.
It's probably the same vendor. I mean, who sells that kind of stuff? Like, seriously.
I know. Truck stops. So I think of it.
So like, who normally has this stuff? Like lot lizards,
right?
Like,
yeah, I guess.
Man,
I don't know. It's rough.
Let's get away from that subject.
Yes, thank you. Oh, pardon my uncomfortable allusions.
He says, 17 years old. You don't got to look him in the face. Stormfront says, look, no one's ever achieved anything without sacrifice. The kid's a hero. Think of it like that. The man says, right, a hero. He hangs up the phone. Now, this actor playing the man is Shawn Ashmore. You may recognize him as Iceman from the X-Men movies from the early 2000s.
Yes.
He's wearing scrubs that say Sage Grove Center on them. Homelander knocks on Stormfront's door. She waits for a moment that says, come in. We see her showing Homelander a meme. He's in the center of the picture. On the left side of the picture, there's something on fire in Africa, and it says, better there. On the right side of the picture, there's a picture of the World Trade Center on fire, and it says, then here. Homelander asks, where do you get all these? She says, oh, this is just the first batch. I'll have Logan punch up the fear. Logan must be her meme smith.
Yeah, they're really pretty good job on most of them.
We see another meme with Homelander's face in front of a beautiful window. The text reads, "Opinions don't kill terrorists." Homelander asks who Logan is. Stormfront says, "My meme queen." I took Logan as a male name, but I guess it's actually a female meme smith.
It's one of those unisex names. Strangely enough, Taylor is also a unisex now.
Oh yeah, I've heard.
So it's one of those both.
Mm-hmm. We see another meme with a picture of Victoria, and it says, "Superheroes invade my personal space." This is what I was talking about earlier when I was like picking up the AOC vibe.
Oh, okay. I think you must be right. I think they must be. Especially, I think there's the walk like an Egyptian. That sounds familiar for me for some reason. I'm wondering if one of our people did that. So that probably is an AOC nod out.
Well, I don't know if she did that specifically, but between the age and I don't know, maybe it's mostly the age. Another meme has a picture of the boy Homelander killed, and it says, "Photoshopped, fake." Stormfront says, "So, when you see it on your uncle's Facebook page, then you know it's working." Homelander just nods.
That is really so funny because someone repeated a Facebook rumor like fact here at my work yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And in my job is loss prevention. And so part of what I do at nighttime is make sure that people get out to their cars. Because you remember that part of what we did when we closed Fry's, we'd drive around, we make sure the place was kind of secure and kind of things like that. So I still have that old mindset. An associate was telling me about an alleged serial killer in the area.
Oh, wow.
And I don't pay because I don't Facebook, I don't do anything, and I'm really offline. But I kind of started digging around and seeing if anything was going on. Of course, I find nothing, and finally somebody says, "Well, where did you hear this from Facebook?" I say, "I got no idea. I don't Facebook." And then eventually this associate comes back to me a little bit later because, "I'm so sorry, my sister sent me this thing and it was Facebook." So I think it's kind of funny how powerful that stuff works on some folks and how quick it spreads.
Yeah.
I'm really blown away because I'm like, I know nothing about this. I got no idea what's going on here. I'm just trying. I'm kind of doing due diligence because someone asked me to make sure that that everyone gets out to their cars safe because they're afraid there's a serial killer in their area. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. I'm glad to do it. It's part of my job anyhow, so I'll do it.
Yeah.
But it's funny how powerful it is, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a powerful mechanism of spreading information.
Yes, it is, and misinformation.
In Judy's house, we see a tripwire has been set up for one of the booby traps. In the basement, MM is messing with his gun, making clicking noises. This appears to annoy Butcher, but he doesn't say anything about it.
Now, quick question here. Did you count how many times he does it? I think he does it in threes. I think he did it 3 times there.
That's a good point.
Like Starlight pointed out the 3 times on the finger on the steering wheel. I think he did it 3 times.
I did not count. Yeah, but that sounds about right, probably.
So, but he's probably been doing it there in series of 3s.
Yeah, for
hours.
The past
however long they've been sitting there.
Yeah. Huey asks Judy if he can ask her something. Judy says, "Well, suppose I got the time." Huey whispers, "Who's Lenny? You said I look like him." Judy says, "Billy wouldn't want me to say." She looks over at Billy, then says, "Billy. Lenny's his little brother." Huey is surprised. He says, "Butcher has a brother?" Judy says, "Yeah, skinny, nervous little bugger, like you." They both laugh. She tells a story of some kid in the 4th grade. He broke Lenny's nose, and Billy went to work on him. He was bringing the seesaw down on the kid's head. The kids and teachers tried to pull Billy off the kid, but they couldn't. Billy was going to kill him. Then Lenny stepped in and led Billy away. She says Lenny had a way of making Billy not be Billy, and that Billy needs someone like that.
Yes, I do.
Huey asks, "Where's Lenny now?" She says, "Oh, God rest his soul." Huey asks, "What happened?"
In the comics, it says that Butcher joined the Royal Marines, and Lenny went to college, but not long afterwards, when he's at college, he is run over by a bus.
Mm-hmm. They jump in surprise when there is an explosion in the house upstairs. They hear footsteps, then another explosion. MM and Butcher stand up. They hear more footsteps, then there's another explosion. More footsteps, and these are like creepy footsteps. They're not normal ones, you know? He's kind of snooping about. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Terror starts barking, and Butcher tries to quiet him down. They hear a bunch of racket, then a smoke grenade flies down into the basement. I think it came through like a ventilation shaft or something.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Butcher yells for everyone to get out. They all run upstairs into the ruin that remains of the house. Butcher yells at them to go out the side door. Butcher is the last one in the house. When he gets to the door, he tells Huey to get them out of there, then slams and locks the door. Huey is frantically trying to get back in and begs him not to do this. In the house, Butcher walks into the living room and yells, "All right, you where are you?" Black Noir steps out from a doorway. We can see his armor is shredded, and there are nails and screws embedded in him. He shows no sign he is encumbered by pain. Butcher picks up a fire poker and says, "So you want to take me on, do you? Think you got the bollocks? Well, come on then." The lack of fear is incredible from Butcher.
I know it. And, you know, I know I've not liked it much this season, but that alone, the fearless taking charge and trying to make sure everyone gets out, I'm like, I love him again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Black Noir begins to move in. Someone kicks in the front door. It's MM, and he begins shooting Black Noir immediately. Butcher yells at MM, "What the are you doing? Get out of here." Black Noir throws a knife, and it hits MM, knocking him back. Butcher yells at Black Noir, "Oi, Gimp, over here, Gimp. I'm the one you want. Come here." He gets in a defensive stance. We suddenly hear Huey screaming. He's shooting Black Noir repeatedly. At least he's not apologizing this time.
Right.
Yeah. He's only screaming this time.
Hey, and good job, Huey. I'm kind of proud of the boy.
Mm-hmm. Black Noir closes to the point where he can put his hand over the barrel of the gun. Huey shoots through it.
Okay. Now, this shows me that Black Noir is not the same person I think that he is in the comics.
Okay. How?
So by being shot in the hand and it passing through it by going through his hand.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the question is, do you want to know who he is in the comics?
No.
Okay. Is it killing you?
It is. It is. Yeah.
Oh, but yeah. So, but yeah, this leads me to believe something different.
Okay. We'll see where it goes.
I'm still going to say that Black Noir is definitely still one dumb son of a gun to have all that face full of shrapnel.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't even doing nothing. He's just standing there.
I mean, like, not even looking for tripwires. You kidding me?
Well, when you hear the walking upstairs, do you think that he's like detonating them to like so he clear his path? And it's like, no, he's just walking through it.
Yeah.
But we did watch this guy take a face from the soup terrorist guy that he killed at the very at the very first episode. You know, that guy detonated way deadlier. His explosion took out whole like buildings or whole floors. So they were more powerful explosions. He sat there and took that and didn't even blink either. Remember?
Yeah, his face mask was ripped a little bit. That's about the worst.
And his skin was obviously damaged, but he does not care. Is it all that matcha?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Huey shoots through it, the hand, and then Butcher comes in from the side and hits Black Noir's arm with the fire poker. He follows up with a swing that hits Black Noir in the jaw, rocking him. Black Noir lashes out at Butcher, knocking him against the wall, and he's stunned badly.
It rocked him, boy.
Yeah. Time slows down for Butcher. He sees Terror barking in slow motion. Huey is on his back, attempting to crawl away from Black Noir, and MM is laying on the floor, his hand covering his wound. Butcher gets it together and says, "You kill him, and you kiss your career goodbye." Butcher stands up and says, "I got photos of Vought's dirty little secret, my wife's son, Homelander's son. Now, you lay one finger on any of us, and those photos go out of the cloud and into Ronan Farrow's inbox. And then the whole world will know that Homelander is nothing but a filthy and Vought has been hiding his little laser-eyed bastard. Now you went to a lot of trouble to keep that a secret. I reckon you might want to keep it that way." Black Noir's hand shoots out and grabs Butcher by the throat, choking him. He slams him against the wall, lifting him off his feet. Black Noir's cell phone goes off. His ringtone is Hallelujah from Handel's Messiah.
A point I forgot to bring up when Butcher was getting the snot kicked out of him at the punk club and here is that I need these phones that these guys are using.
In what
I
way?
mean, this guy's walked through 3 explosions, 4 explosions. His phone's still working.
Good point.
I'm like, dude, I want that phone right there, dude.
Yep. That's great observation. Yep. Screen's not even cracked or anything.
Not even cracked, buddy. Especially on the mosh pit when that's the one that your phone is definitely going to get stomped on, and the explosions too. But it's like that's just too funny. We need those Sonys apparently.
Black Noir answers the call. He puts the phone against Butcher's ear. Mr. Edgar is on the line. He says, "Mr. Butcher." Butcher says, "Oh, hello." Mr. Edgar is sitting in his office. He's watching Butcher through a tablet. The video is coming from a camera in Black Noir's armor. Mr. Edgar says, "How can I be sure you actually have the proof of which you speak?" Butcher says, "You can't. Roll the dice." I reckon he'd be more popular than Meghan and Harry's little Sprog.
Right.
I looked up Sprog because I didn't know what that means. Yeah. It means child.
Sorry. Child, yeah. I was laughing because when we go back to the episode 1 of this season, of season 2 here, when they show Butcher going in the terrible Chris Hansen recreation.
Yes.
I'm not saying that Chris Hansen himself is actually being Bill Butcher, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But Butcher's character goes, "I'll bollocks you," because bollocks is balls.
Yeah.
Is the way. So I'll balls you.
What, yeah. That's why I said it was such a bad reenactment.
Right.
You know.
Right. It is dreadful. Yeah. It's dreadful. How scary is it that the fact that it's like instantly when this is said that the phone rings and it's like, and that Noir stops what he is doing for Mr. Edgar.
That's scary, man.
Gus Fring. That's really scary, dude.
Having that camera on there with direct access to it.
Yeah. What does that say about Edgar and the fact about Noir?
It's terrifying.
Noir, it's his personal whatever as his errand boy. If he wants him to get his cleaning, I'm assuming Black Noir gets his cleaning. But so I'm assuming Black Noir does whatever Mr. Edgar tells him to. That's amazing.
Yeah. Mr. Edgar says, "Here's my first and final offer. That information never sees the light of day, and I'll call off Black Noir." Butcher says, "All right, you got yourself a deal. Want to shake on it?" Mr. Edgar says, "Put Noir on." Butcher says, "Oi, Mrs. wants a word." Black Noir puts the phone to his ear, then drops Butcher and walks away. Judy walks in and says, "Billy." Butcher yells, "MM, you okay?" MM says he is. Huey asks Butcher if he really has those pictures. Butcher says, of course he does.
And I love that look that they share right there. It's like Huey knows it, Butcher does not. And the Butcher knows it. I love that. And it's like finally kind of a true bonding moment with those two.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
The Deep is at a Church of the Collective outreach program for the homeless. He's handing out books. A homeless woman says, "They said there would be food." The Deep says, "Well, this is food for your soul." She walks away and the Deep says, "Go with love." We see Maeve walk in the door. The Deep is excited to see her. He moves to give her a hug and she stops him. He asks, "Wait, are you?" He grabs a book and says, "You want to check this out?" She says, "Oh, no." He says, "Okay." She says, listen, we should talk. If any of these Moonies are going to help you get back in the 7, and that's a big if, then you're going to need a woman to tell everyone that you're not a complete piece of shit. I could be that person for you." He says, "Wait, you think I'm a piece of shit?" She says, "Yeah. The point is, I can help you if you help me." That's great. I love her admission that she thinks that.
Oh, but it's so amazing that, it's like he doesn't even see it. Even though he's on a PR campaign to save himself, it's like he still doesn't get it. I'm like, it's like the girl on the beach all over again.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's just like he's been out a couple months and he just changed. And they're supposed to forget the years of the bad stuff that he did.
Right. I love it. He's hilarious, man. I love that guy.
Back on the movie set, Stormfront is walking somewhere. She passes Starlight, who is looking at the menu on the Vietnamese food truck. Starlight sneaks into Stormfront's trailer. She begins searching the place. She opens her laptop. It's password protected. She guesses the password Liberty first, and it's not accepted. She thinks for a moment, then she tries Adele, the name Stormfront gave for her mother. It works.
Nice.
Starlight sees a bunch of emails about Sage Grove. That's the place that individual with the lighter who was on the
Yes.
phone with Stormfront was at. The door to the trailer opens. It's Stormfront coming back. She sees Starlight standing there with her arms crossed. Stormfront asks what she's doing in her trailer. Starlight says, "You know, you had no right to talk to my mother about personal. What were you trying to prove?" Stormfront says, "Okay, sorry, just trying to help." Starlight says, "She didn't just lie to me about Compound V, okay? She lied to me about everything. So don't try to broker some kind of peace between us because I don't want it." Starlight looks really upset. And again, props to her for her secret agent skills.
Oh, she's learning to think on her feet real quick here.
Yeah, she is.
She's in dangerous territory here.
Yeah. Stormfront says, "Wow, that is a performance." Starlight actually looks like she's close to crying. Stormfront says, "Oh my God, look, I'm like tearing up. You don't suck, Starlight. You are Tilda Swinton." Stormfront takes a step forward and says, "I know you leaked it." Starlight says, "I have no idea what you're talking about." Stormfront says, "Not as good. Magic's gone. I guess lightning really doesn't strike twice, huh?" Starlight says, "Okay, whatever. You know what? I need to get to set, so." Stormfront says, "That Hackalim Gecko, yeah, he stole the V, and then you leaked it to MSNBC. Now, what do you think Vought's going to feel when I tell them?" Starlight nods, then says, "Well, how do you think the world will feel when I tell them that you used to be Liberty?" That's an excellent comeback.
That's a very nice comeback. Really strong. Good job.
Stormfront says, "Wow, you are a special kind of poison flower, huh? Going against your own people?" Starlight says, "You mean white people?" Stormfront says, "Starlight, superheroes. Don't be racist."
That's rich coming from her with that implication, a conversation with the A-Train there.
Yeah. Starlight's eyes start to glow and the lights in the trailer start to flicker. Stormfront is excited. She says, "Oh, my. Oh, yes, that is adorable. I do like you. You got spunk. You're going to be a big help to me." Starlight says, "What the hell does that mean?" Someone knocks on the door. Stormfront tells them to come in. It's Homelander. He says, "Hello, you two. Not interrupting, am I?" Stormfront says, "No, just between us girls. Right, Starlight?" Starlight says, "Yeah. Yeah, that's right." She begins to walk out and tells Stormfront, "See you around." Stormfront says, "Mm-hmm. Can't wait to shoot our scene together." Starlight says, "Yeah, me too." Homelander laughs and asks, "What was that all about? You girls friendly?" Stormfront says, "No, just running lines. What's up?" Homelander says, me. Up 5 points." Stormfront gives him a little clap. He chuckles and says, "Yeah, people are checking boxes like patriotic and unwavering." He takes a deep breath and says, "I owe you." She says, "Well, what are you ever going to do to repay me?"
I'm kind of shocked. It looks like he didn't use his super hearing coming in here, did he?
No.
I mean, I think he is so out of sorts after what we saw before that I don't think it even dawned on him to even do that here.
Yeah, likely.
I guess but it's because there's no indication, and it's late, and I don't even think later on there's any indication that he was ever that this conversation ever had any, but other than between them two.
How does he, if he can hear so well, how does he get the filter mechanism working so he doesn't get just a huge bunch of voices flying at him?
I don't really know. I mean, Superman has this same power, and I'm assuming that Homelander has it because of the fact that he was circling outside of Vought Tower in season 1 to hear that mayor say that. He would have to have enhanced hearing.
Right.
So hearing that on a lot like that should have been way easier than in the city where he was through there, I would think.
Right. I agree.
So there's some, I wouldn't know how you would focus. I guess just practice.
I guess so.
And have to learn how to filter it all out. But I'm assuming that I know how Superman does it. He's just super. I mean, what can I say? I don't know how Homelander does it.
Mm-hmm. We see a bunch of police cars rushing to Judy's house. Butcher is talking to Terror, who's sitting in the driver's seat of a car. It's actually a Corvette. Judy's got a nice car.
It's a nice ride. Yeah, she does.
Butcher says, well, here we are. I'm sorry. I almost threw in the towel like a bleeding twat. We're harder than that, isn't we? I will get your mum back. I swear to God. I'll get your mum back. Just take a little bit longer. You hang in there, all right? You be a good boy for Judy. He gives Terror a kiss on the forehead. He pets him and says, yeah, that's a good lad. He closes the car door and says, oh, I almost forgot. I got you something. He pulls a Homelander cuddle plush out of his pocket and says, Terror, it.
And in the comic book, he tells Terror to do that, and that he will do that to dogs that are near, because there's a yappy dog and Huey's bumming out, and he makes to make Huey laugh. He does that, and then you just hear the yip from the distance,
man.
and it's like, and you know that Terror is indeed doing as told.
That's crazy, man. Did someone train a dog to do that?
No,
Yeah.
Oh.
We can hear the toy squeaking as Terror does what he was commanded to do.
I'm sorry I borrowed your phrase here.
Yeah. The Homelander doll says, I'll always protect you. Judy and Butcher embrace. He tells her, you're all right for an old brat. She says, yeah. We can hear Terror increasing the pace in the background. Dream On by Aerosmith starts playing. Butcher walks back to his vehicle and turns and smiles at Huey. Huey shares a smile with Judy, then gets in the car with MM. Butcher gets in his car and we can see his face in the mirror. He smiles.
Nice.
Back to Stormfront's apartment in the Vought Tower. Her and Homelander are violently getting it on with each other. She launches him against a wall. He falls to the ground and gets up, his eyes glowing.
I know he is super angry here, but do you think he looks startled that she hit him that hard? Because I think he's kind of like, that's why he initially reacts that way. And what do you think? I mean, he looks to me kind of like, whoa, I don't think he was expecting that.
It's hard to say, man. But he's definitely not used to dealing with women this strong.
No.
Well, I guess Maeve is about that strong.
Maeve is
right?
strong. Yeah, I'm assuming Maeve is that strong but I'm just likening her to Wonder Woman, if that's the case, and she's very, very strong as well. But the way that he hits that wall almost shoulders to the ground first, it was like, wow, like he was just unprepared to be launched.
Right.
Like that. It was like, wow, I think he's really. So I just love that shot though.
Mm-hmm. His eyes stop glowing when he stands up. She says, do it. You know you want to. He says, I'll cut you in half. She says, come on, right here. She points at a spot over her heart. He does a quick blast. She says, don't be a p***. Laser my tits.
Wow.
He goes all out for 7 seconds.
Wow.
She's breathing rapidly and says, oh God, that hurts. We can hear her flesh sizzling. She yells at him, don't stop. He goes again. She starts laughing and says, see, I told you I don't break easy. He gives her a gentle kiss, then they proceed to destroy the apartment. The episode ends with them floating in the air, getting it on. A chandelier falls to the ground.
That last bit was a bit more than I wished to see, but the fact that she took that full force laser, man, she's tough.
Does she have like super healing or something?
She must.
Yeah, she must.
I mean, because I would think, because in my mind, my brain works like this. Like for Homelander, I don't think he would show anything unless you could do damage that would be strong enough to overcome. You might be able to shove him, 100 miles, but would he be hurt by any of the impact? It would depend on if the person's stronger, I guess, than his skin is. And he's strong enough to actually burn her skin, but it's not going deep. It's staying on the surface.
Okay.
So it's kind of, I think in a similar way, it's very similar to what Superman or Homelander would do. It might show some damage a little bit, but it doesn't appear to, it's like they know it's not going to be there. Like she knows it's going to, she's obviously not worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but yeah, great scene. Even though it's pretty dirty, that's really crazy.
Yeah. So that's how the episode ends. What were your standout moments for this episode?
I like Butcher telling Huey that he was just canary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that too.
Really good. And the more and more about Maeve, her becoming less two-dimensional. I like about her fear of Homelander and using Elena as a hostage. That touches me for some reason, just because you don't like seeing people being done this way. And about talking to the stuff with him and MM at his aunt's house, Judy's place, telling welcome to the club. That he's been thinking about suicide a lot, and that says a lot too. But realize that Huey's wow, he's been thinking about it a lot. For him to say it, I'm thinking about it quite a bit. To see that parallel between him and Butcher, I like that.
Yeah, that was a good tough talk that he gave him. And I kind of brought this up earlier, but like I really like how the boys they kind of rotate to support whoever needs it at that time. Yeah.
They have a natural flow how they do that, and I agree with you. I like how it's doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And also like the scene with Frenchie and Kimiko, and Frenchie's pain at what Kimiko is doing.
Mm-hmm.
He's deeply hurt here, and that guy's name is Tomer Capone. I kind of thought he was really French, but he's Israeli.
Okay.
So he's like Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot.
Yeah.
Is it Gadot?
I hear good. Well, honestly, I don't know. I've heard it a couple different ways. I've heard it Godot mostly, but I'm not sure.
But I like her and I like him, but he was fantastic.
Yeah. That scene where Kimiko goes into that bar and kills those Russian guys, particularly peeling the guy's face off. Man, that was a standout moment for me. It's gruesome, but
it is.
You don't see that kind of stuff normally.
No, you don't. And this show does some violence that has outdone some horror movies that I have looked for horror and gore in ways for years. And they've outdone a lot of that stuff. And almost, I've always been kind of blown away by their use of it.
Right.
Because it was the scene where Homelander's cutting down those people in the hundreds. I mean, if he is like Superman, the thing for me this is trippy to think about. I've brought up in the past about on a numerical system about how the numbers double in this universe, in the world that I'm referring to. And Superman has like a 25 strength.
Yeah. So for each increase in one number, that's double power.
Yes, it doubles.
Yeah.
His heat vision is at about a 15.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's about what a 15 heat vision looks like to me in my mind. Because, I mean, it's like that's really strong. But he is, thousands of times physically stronger than his heat vision.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I got no idea what the math is on that one. But I watched that like 5 times just to watch him mow that. I mean, that was, like you said, especially that second cut when it widens and the swath widens. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's like, it wasn't just a few. All of a sudden, it exponentially increases in the body count. Into
it ballooned into 30% of the crowd.
Yeah, it's like, wow, that was horrifying looking.
Yeah, the scale of the aerial shot really does a lot to sell that scene because it's so high up, and it's just seeing it go across is really well done.
Mm-hmm. And I also love that the reveal that Huey. This explains a lot about Butcher and Huey. That Huey looks like Lenny, his brother, Butcher's brother.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I love this. Like we talked about during the Butcher Black Noir stuff. That whole scene there in that house fight, and everything in that scene is incredible.
Yeah,
I mean, from when they're in the taffy room to where the end of the phone call with Edgar, that whole scene is just it's just awesome, dude.
Yeah, I really like the build up there.
Yeah.
And then when they're fighting in the burning room, that's cool too.
Yeah. And again, I love Starlight's continued development. And man, we really start to realize what a dangerous situation she is being a double agent,
Mm-hmm.
And Linda Dahlford saying, "Protect me I'll protect you while being violated." Oh my word, that's great.
Yeah.
And as uncomfortable as the super sex scene was, and it is thoroughly graphic, I was shocked by Stormfront's power levels and strength levels. What a comic nerd, huh? They're getting it on. I'm only interested in what the powers are on here. I'm not please just get past that. I was like, I don't want to see the sex. I just want to see the power,
Yeah, it was interesting the way she was able to handle the heat vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then her throwing him around like he's nothing.
Yeah, that room looked like they've obviously been punching the crud out of each other. Probably pretty full tilt.
Mm-hmm.
So she's a lot. Her levels are very high. She may be. I think she could be tougher than Maeve, but we don't see Maeve other than her standing there and taking a truck out. Is that all? And have we seen her do much else?
No, we've heard her throwing a pen.
Yes.
Was it 30 yards or something, and
Yeah.
hitting someone in the eye with it and
See,
killing them?
I think Eagle Archer should be able to do something like that.
Likely.
If he could shoot a bow and arrow like that, he should be able to do that. But he acts like he can't do anything but shoot a bow and arrow. And I think we both agree that we just love Judy Butcher's Allen. She was great.
I really enjoyed the introduction of her character. I thought she was super cool because normally they'll kind of make elderly people seem kind of boring or slow or whatever, and she had her interesting additions to the show.
She was super cool, dude.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of old. It's like, oh, that's a pretty cool. It's like that's like, I know you're a criminal, but I kind of like your life. You seem to be an entertaining. Like you're having a pretty good retirement.
Yeah, that was a kind of a flashy car for a drug dealer.
Really? Well, she's old. It's like she's not too worried about it.
So, you got any final thoughts before we drop off?
Who is Stormfront Liberty? She is obviously powerful, but the fact that she's fallen off the radar. I mean, I think that this shows the power and strength of Vought to be able to kind of keep something off, like the joke about the cat moving them around, like the Catholic Church. Yeah. So other than that, that's kind of what I'm left with right there, man. Great show, man.
Yeah, kind of makes you wonder if her powers have evolved over time from when she was Liberty to now.
Yeah. Well, that's always and especially in the comic book universes, that's always an ever present, because you can only do so much in a story, so they usually start dabbling in the powers. And what they take them away, mutate their powers into some strange thing, or it's things that they're not used to. It's so that's kind of where so she could very well have mutated into something, and she could also just the other thing that another comic writer, the guy that did The Walking Dead in his show Invincible, in a comic book Invincible, the idea that these guys can live to be, guys like Superman can live easily, tens of thousands of years, but they're not getting older all the time. They're getting stronger. Like it's like they, due to whatever fact, their age they just keep, they're not like by the huge increments that they are, but they're slowly leveling up still as they go too.
Right.
And so that's a pretty scary thought.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting is that she could be a lot more stronger than she was 40 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, Joe?
All right, man. Good job tonight. We thank you all for joining us today.
Again, we really like to thank you for taking the time to be with us, and we've had a really great time talking about the topic today.
If you would like to support our show, you can find us at horsefrogproductions.com, where you can find our Patreon link. Depending on the platform you're listening from, it may also be in the episode description.
And if you'd like to contact us through email, it's at contact@horsefrogproductions.com.